Good afternoon. In compliance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, I call to order a regular voting meeting of the Board of Trustees with the Austin Independent School District for Thursday, April 28, 2022 at 5:39 p.m. A quorum of the board are physically present at AISD Central Office to conduct this meeting. Board meetings are open to the public based on space availability to ensure social distancing and the health and safety of our community and staff. This meeting is being streamed live on AISD TV and Apple TV. It's also being broadcast on cable channel 22 through Spectrum, Grande, and on channel 99 through AT&T UVerse. Closed captioning in English is available on these platforms for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. To our audience tuning in remotely and here in person, welcome and thank you for joining us. It's good to see all of your faces. We will move to the approval of the agenda. Secretary Singh, do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Having a motion by Secretary Singh and a second by Trustee Zapata to approve the agenda, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. Secretary Singh, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag? They did.
Yes, they did. It's a new book, Who Moved the Flag?
And I didn't have my cheat sheet, so thank you for
We will now move to our game changer item, which is our opportunity to recognize and observe important items happening in AISD and our nation. Dr. Rizalde, would you please share these recognitions?
Yes, thank you, President Rodriguez. Good evening, members of the board and to our community. I'd like to bring forward our Executive Director, Michelle Wallace, with a very important game changer recognition.
Good evening, President Rodriguez, Dr. Elizalde, and trustees. It's great to be here with you in person with one of our partners. We are so grateful to our friends at 3M and especially grateful to Stacy Classens. Stacy is the Global Employee Empowerment Manager at 3M Gives at 3M. And she has been an amazing partner to our district and our students for us. And we are honored to ask tonight for formal recognition from trustees. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Trustee Foster, do you have a recognition statement you want to share?
Absolutely. On behalf of the Austin ISD Board of Trustees, it is my honor to recognize 3M for its generous commitment and support of students and staff across the district. 3M is a longtime champion of Austin ISD and Austin Ed Fund, supporting district-wide initiatives and impacting individual schools. Through innovative STEM-related projects to engage students in the classroom, school supplies for teachers and staff, or ongoing investments in Wooten Elementary School, 3M has supported the Austin ISD community. In 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, 3M stepped up their investment in Austin Ed Fund's Crisis Support Fund, which helped Austin ISD provide basic needs and educational support across the district. Most recently, in the fall of 2021, 3M awarded the Austin Ed Fund a $69,000 grant to support the E-Tech Electrical Pre-Apprenticeship Program and enhance the lab spaces at Navarro and Travis Early College high schools. This generous investment by 3M will help increase students' awareness of and interest in pursuing a high-skill, high-wage occupation in the in-demand and emerging field of commercial electrical construction. Students and staff will gain access to industry-standard equipment that better prepares them for future career opportunities. The personal note I'll offer is that years ago when I was running student programs, 3M was one of the sites and campuses where I took kids, where I learned and my kids learned that there are jobs where you sit and play video games all day. And I think we produced another generation of game designers just from that kind of opportunity that you all provide. It's with great pride that the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District recognizes and thanks 3M for their partnership in support of Austin ISD students and staff.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elizalde, the board, and Michelle. It's such an honor to accept this recognition on behalf of 3M, and I'd like to thank you for your leadership in all that you do for our students, our staff, and for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all again. So our next item is the President's Report. And just have a few items I wanted to share. I think, first of all, I just wanted to report back to the board and share that last night we had over 1,200 parents, staff, and students at the Aikens High School Trustee Award Ceremony, and it was so great to see so many folks. Principal Salazar shared with me that it was the most number of staff and students and parents they've had since the pandemic. So it was really nice to just be there with all of our community. You know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Austin ISD recognizes that mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being. Everyone experiences times of difficulty and stress in their lives. With early and effective treatment, individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. In Austin ISD, we will dedicate the month of May 2022 to promote mental health awareness and support prevention efforts. Staff, students, and family will have opportunities to participate in mental wellness activities during the month of May. Students have access to mental health and crisis services such as Integral Care, the Trevor Project, Texas Youth Hotline, and Safe Austin. These and other resources are available from our campus counselors and our counseling and crisis teams. Employees and their household members have no-cost confidential access through our Revive Employee Assistance Program to speak to a counselor for any issue, including relationship, marital conflicts, anxiety, depression, stress, grief, and life adjustments. Additional resources are also available for work-life solutions, legal guidance, and financial resources. Additionally, our employees have direct access to speak to a licensed mental health counselor, Joy Campbell. She can assist employees address mental health issues such as, but not limited to, depression, anxiety, stress, communication, family and interpersonal issues, and addiction. Employees also have access to a mental health toolkit through our employee portal, in which they can access all kinds of support and resource materials in one place. In addition to these year-round resources, during the month of May, we will be actively engaging with our employees through a wellness challenge called Root for Yourself. Employees will have the opportunity to engage in different self-care activities and play their own bingo card as they complete those activities. The engagement and completion in this challenge will give employees the opportunity to earn points towards their overall wellness program as they improve their self-care and even a chance to win some prizes. Lastly, we connect through our personalized employee benefits app, where employees receive ongoing notifications regarding upcoming events, such as mental health webinars, services offered through Revive Employee Assistance Program, and how to access all these services directly from their smartphone. And I'd like to end by updating the public about a potential change to board meetings. During the COVID pandemic, we have moved the start time of all board meetings to 5:30 p.m. This worked well for staff, trustees, and community members, as many did not need to travel to attend the meeting. We only needed to log into a computer. Now that all meetings are back in person, we're considering moving the start time of all regularly scheduled trustee meetings to 6 p.m. to help accommodate trustees and community members who work and may not be able to arrive by 5:30. This will be a discussion by the board on the May 5th board meeting for the potential for a change starting with the June 9th board information session. So that concludes the president's report, and at this time, I'd like to have trustees provide committee reports. So Trustee Ashe, I believe, can you share the policy report and the report for the Austin Education?
Certainly. I will start with the Austin Ed Fund. The Austin Ed Fund met on Thursday, March 31st, and a special thanks to Principal Wendy Mills and the staff at Norman Sims for hosting us on their beautiful modernized campus. And if I can take a personal point of privilege, if you are ever in need to be inspired and just feel the happiness come from somebody, spend about 30 seconds with Principal Mills. Her enthusiasm is infectious, and made the tour that she provided us for us super fun. The Austin Ed Fund also hosted its first in-person deeper dive event since March 2020 at McBee Elementary School. And the deeper dives help Austin ISD offer an intimate setting for the Austin Ed Fund supporters to see firsthand the impact they're making at schools across the district. Thank you to the entire McBee Elementary community and team for showcasing how your students engage in reading through multiple literacy-focused grant projects, and how families receive support from their loving McBee community, and how parents become leaders at the campus through families as partners. A special thanks to the campuses and partners who participated in the pilot Principal for a Day program on Monday, April 18th. Volunteers, including Austin Ed Fund board members, spent the morning at 8 AISD campuses, and the principals and partners attended an event debrief that afternoon. I can tell you it was quite impactful for people who maybe have never spent a time in an elementary school or in a public school to see exactly how much our principals do on a daily basis. The Office of Innovation and Development is taking their feedback and hoping to plan for a larger event in the fall. And trustees are invited to a reception honoring Austin Ed Fund teacher grant recipients on Monday, May 16th. And this is a wonderful opportunity to visit with the teachers and learn about the impact of community support in their classrooms. All you need to do is let Laura Orozco know that we would like to attend, and I'm sure that your attendance would be welcome. And it is super fun, and also another very inspiring opportunity to see the joy in the teachers as they show their work, if you will, and they get to show how they use their grants. So that is for the Austin Ed Fund. I will now move to the Policy Committee report. We met on Monday, April 18th at 5:07, and Trustee Foster and Trustee Boswell, as well as myself, were present. And additionally, from administration, we had Dr. Gloria Williams, Oscar Adams, Carla De La Rosa, and Dr. Jacob Reach and Edna Butts. The first thing we did is discuss the student code of conduct. And I told Dr. Williams and Oscar Adams both to get ready for the praise that I'm about to throw upon them. I cannot wait for my colleagues to see the new student code of conduct that you are about to get. It is incredible. And it is something personally that I know that we have been asking for, and I think you will be excited. I think Trustee Foster and Trustee Boswell would agree. We were all very excited at seeing this incredible document that's been produced with a lot of community input as well as staff input. And so I'm very grateful for all of the work that they have done. And not just the work that they did in this one particular meeting, but all of the updates that they've provided to the policy committee along the way, including us in their work and letting us see exactly what they're doing. So grateful for that. She presented the update and the revised student code, or Dr. Williams presented the update and the revised student code of conduct, which will be presented to the board in June, which is another thing. As somebody who has been on the board of trustees, that is not normally when it comes to us. And I, again, want to have a giant shout out that we're actually going to get to approve the student code of conduct in June, so that we're not approving it after our kids have already started school. And so it's extremely exciting. Dr. Williams and her team have solicited input from many different faculty members, parents, committees, students, and organizations in developing the revised handbook. And they have also focused on improving the readability, which was a huge point for us on the Code of Conduct, and included a section on frequently asked questions based on the survey feedback. So can't wait for y'all to see it. I'm super excited about it. Additionally, we also talked about the cell phone use policy, and Edna Butts presented the results of the principal's responses to a survey regarding whether they recommended changes to the FNCE local, which is regarding cell phone use. 45 principals responded, and 23 indicated it should be changed, and 26 said it should not be changed. Most of the comments centered around the fee that's charged in order to return the phone back to the student, to retrieve the phone. 7 said there shouldn't be a fee, 2 said yes, and 2 said to reduce the fee. And they also wanted to see update to the terminology to include phones and smartwatches and potentially take away paging devices, as that seems to not necessarily be appropriate anymore for electronic devices. The policy committee will review the proposed changes to this policy at its meeting on May the 6th. The policies around calculation of honors and class rank was our next topic. We reviewed FG local and EIC local, changes to which are necessitated by the change from 6 weeks grading period to 9-week grading periods. And so it really is a function of making sure our policy is matching what we're doing in practice. The revisions to FG local, which were student awards and scholarships, changed the calculation for determining annual awards to high school students using the cumulative GPA at the end of the first 5 reporting periods to the first 3 reporting periods, because we used to be on a 6-week schedule and now we're on a 9-week schedule. So we want, again, just trying to reflect the actual practice. The revisions to EIC local, which are about academic achievement and class ranking, changed the calculation for determining the positions of valedictorian and salutatorian and the highest ranking graduate from the end of the 6 weeks to the end of the 4th 9 weeks for those students currently in high school. For students entering the grade 9 and 2025-26 school year and thereafter. So y'all heard me say this at the last board meeting. I'm going to repeat that again. For our students that are already in high school, this calculation change will not impact them. It is for the freshmen that enter grade 9 in 2025-26. And the highest ranking graduate are proposed to be made after the 3rd 9-week grading period rather than the 4th 9-week grading period. Both of these policies are on the consent agenda for the board's May meeting. So if there will be an opportunity for us to discuss those, or if anyone has any questions, you can ask them at the information session. FFH local, which is student welfare and freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliations. Revisions to this policy to include, as an example of gender expression discrimination, the refusal to address or refer to a student by the student's preferred pronoun. We wanted to add that language in based on feedback that we had received. And if this revision will also be on the board's agenda for the May meeting. I did want to say, because we did, both Trustee Foster, Trustee Boswell, and myself did say, we know that there are potentially other changes that may be coming to this policy based on feedback, and we look forward to hearing from the community if there are other changes. Please feel free to reach out to us at trustees@austinist.org to let us know of other things. So again, policy is not intended to be a stagnant, but rather a living thing that we can come back to as needed. And we adjourned our meeting at 6:53, and our next meeting will be on May 6th at 10 in the morning. Thank you.
So, thank you, everybody. I got stuck on the pager and whether, I don't know what to do with my pager now. Trustee Boswell, can you share the intergovernmental report?
Yes, and I think if we get rid of it in policy, you can go wild with your pager if you're in school. So, yeah. Yes, I have an update from the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. We're the group that, among other things, sets legislative policy in collaboration with the administration, the rest of the board, and the community. We met on April 19th. It was me, Trustee Zapata, and Trustee Singh were there, and Edna Butts and Dr. Jacob Breach helped us. with that meeting. We did a couple of things. We're setting legislative priorities for the district. That's part of the work we're doing in the committee, is working toward that. And we're seeking input from the administration. We had some input from the executive leadership team, some preliminary input. We're also seeking input from our community. If you go to aisd.org/legislative or legislature, you'll find a form, and we want to hear from you what your legislative priorities are, things that have action at the state level. So if you have things to share, please do. We want to incorporate your thoughts in that too. Our goal is to have the board adopt our legislative priorities in August, so we are well ahead of the legislative session that begins in January, and we can begin going to campuses, refining that, engaging, talking with the community about how people want to be engaged in that work. I see a couple of students here. We especially want to include student voice in this. So if you're a student here, please, we invite you to be involved as well. Then we also talked about advocacy resolutions through TASB. That's the Texas Association of School Boards. It's the body that serves all 1,000 plus districts in the state of Texas. And what we find often when we're with that group is that we have a huge diversity of experience and also a huge overlap in many of our priorities. And so we are working to propose some resolutions to TASB that will be considered at the conference this summer. Our deadline for doing that is June 15th. So we'll be bringing those to a vote of the board in May and proposing those to TASB, and then the statewide membership will vote for those through delegates to the convention this summer, through delegates to that part of the convention. Several of the resolutions last year are recommended again, and we have some new ones. And among our recommendations, topics include school finance, full-day pre-K, charter schools, accountability and assessment, school discipline, vouchers, governance issues, and making sure that our school environments are safe and welcoming for all students. And many others. I think we're sending 21 is what we're proposing to vote on to TASB. So we'll bring that in May. And then we also are working outside the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, but as an entire board with Raise Your Hand Texas. It's an advocacy project that's an 18-month project in collaboration with 8 other districts, very small and big, kind of from Katy to tiny towns near El Paso. And everything in between all across the state. And we have had one meeting here with the entire board and Dr. Elizalde. We had a 2-day meeting with all of the districts together last week. And the goal of that work is to create a sustainable structure for advocacy in collaboration with our community. So we'll be coming to a lot of you with information about that in the months ahead. And my next step for that is to summarize what we talked about at the meeting and share it with the full board. And so you can probably look for that at a future board meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Boswell and Trustee Ashe for those reports. Trustees, are there any other committee or training reports that we need to share tonight? So if not, thank you again. The next item is under the superintendent's report. Dr. Elizalde?
Thank you, President Rodriguez. We have a few slides that I would like to highlight. So you might not know that Austin ISD is home to some of the most talented student journalists in the United States. This year, multiple Austin ISD schools earned awards through the National Scholastic Publication Association's annual Pacemaker competition, including the prestigious Pacemaker Award. Receiving the Pacemaker Award means you're the best of the best. Out of 140 global submissions, the Pacemaker recognized only 20 online publications. McCallum High School won for the online news magazine, The Shield. Bowie High School's yearbook, the team took home a Pacemaker Award for their 2021 yearbook called The Lone Star. And McCallum and Keeling Middle Schools were also finalists for the Pacemaker Yearbook Awards. Next up is senior Austin Tharp from Northeast Early College High School. The Texas High School Coaches Association named him first academic all-state team for his performance on the court and in the classroom. Austin's planning on attending UT, Hook 'em Horns, in the fall. He's got a 4.1 GPA, an Eagle Scout badge, and a letter for the basketball team. Nice work, Austin. Next up is, we want to recognize Fabiola Salazar. I read somewhere that people are more afraid of public speaking than any other thing in their entire life. So I'm particularly impressed with Fabiola Salazar, an Austin High School avid student who has been chosen as a speaker at the statewide Avid Summer Institute in San Antonio. Way to go, Fabiola. And as a point of privilege, I also want to thank the entire Avid staff for last week's Avid student cord ceremony. It was great to see the hundreds of students receiving the award, headed towards college education and prestigious careers with Avid, helping them find their way. This next one is a great example of how some of our graduates are going to be walking out of our high schools directly into great paying jobs. I want to brag on our welding students at Navarro Early College High School. Yesterday, they traveled to Blinn College in Brenham to compete against 60 other students in a statewide welding contest. Congratulations are in order to junior Alejandro Perez for being named Grand Champion Welder. This weekend, they're going to another event where they will be earning up to 3 professional certifications. Hats off to you, students. Staying with the Navarro theme, I'd like to apologize to anyone who's watching us now because you're going to get hungry if you haven't had dinner yet. That's because just hearing about this certainly made me think about food. Navarro's barbecue team, that's right, a barbecue team, will be competing at the state championship at the Dell Diamond this Saturday. The event is open to the public, so if you're bored and want some really good food, head on out and stop by. The Viking FFA barbecue team qualified for state by taking top honors in brisket and dessert at regionals. This is what people talk about when they say, God bless Texas. So continuing on, I've got to mention one of the Golden Rave Awards that I get to hand out. And recently I went to Allison Elementary and I was able to award one of our hardworking librarians, Ms. Holly Jenkins. She has been setting the standard for our library for over 11 years in Austin ISD. For this reason, I presented Ms. Jenkins with one of these Golden Rave Awards, and she didn't know she was setting up the celebration for herself. So we were able to share with the whole school what she had set up so we could celebrate her tremendous dedication to continuing to encourage students to find love through reading. Like so many of our librarians, Ms. Jenkins' informal job description includes so much more than what you find on paper. She is the gifted and talented program advocate for her campus. She's the Avid program sponsor. She's the UIL 5th grade writing competition sponsor. She's a mentor to students and a member of our district equity advisory committee. I'm so glad that I was able to meet with Ms. Jenkins. She exemplifies everything it means to provide an equitable and exceptional experience for our students. It also brings me great joy when the excellence of our Austin ISD staff is recognized beyond our own district. This year, 3 of our stellar team members were chosen as finalists for the esteemed HEB Excellence in Education Awards. The HEB Excellence in Education Awards are designed to honor outstanding public school professionals and to thank them for their dedication and commitment. Through this program, HEB seeks to pay tribute to those educators who go the extra mile each and every day to serve their students and their communities and who inspire others to do the same. So this month, our Austin ISD finalists were presented with their recognitions during surprise celebrations on their respective campuses. First up was Ben McCormick, principal at St. Elmo Elementary School. He's a finalist in the elementary principal category. Next was Joseph Olanichuk of the Liberal Arts and Science Academy, or LASA High School. He's a finalist in the leadership secondary category. And to Tara Bordeaux of Navarro Early College High School, who's a finalist in the Rising Star secondary category. Congratulations. We are also proud to have been able to recognize our Teacher of the Year finalists in Austin ISD. Our 4 finalists are Carrie Johnston of Perez Elementary, and Ms. Johnston has taught her Perez dual language students the beauty of being bilingual writers because it gives them more ways to communicate complex ideas more precisely. Then we had Emily Rogers of Ortega Elementary. Ms. Rogers has implemented a coding and circuits project to give students a creative way to present their essays at Ortega. Our third recipient was Iraida Amador Mercado of Lively Middle School. In less than a decade, Ms. Amador Mercado went from living in Puerto Rico to the Bronx in New York without speaking English fluently, and now, today, serving Austin ISD, mentoring and supporting new dual language social studies teachers at Lively. And our last recipient, Tatiana Antonio of Clifton Culinary Arts. At Clifton, Ms. Antonio has partnered with Prep Kitchen to teach students the business of the food industry. The winners will be announced at Salute on Thursday, May 12th at the Austin ISD Performing Arts Center. And that concludes my report.
Sorry, thank you, Dr. Elizalde. Trustees, are there any questions? Trustee Zapata.
I don't have a question, but as trustees, I think your report is amazing and evidence of the amazing staff that we have, all the students, that they are capable and able to reach the stars. So I just think they all deserve, everyone you mentioned deserves a big applause. Thank you.
Thank you, trustees. Other questions? Trustee Boswell?
I just want to make sure people know that they can experience Clifton Culinary Arts by visiting the campus on Fridays. At this point, you can order lunch for pickup. It's delicious. Ms. Antonio's students make it. And at some point in the past, and I hope sometime in the future, there are in-person lunches on Fridays. And it's always a great place in the past when it was open before COVID, a great place to run into tons of people who support Austin ISD in a million different ways, and always a delicious lunch and nice community to find. So if you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend it.
Thank you, trustees. Other questions? If not, we will move on to the next item, which is the scorecard discussion and review on scorecard goal number 5, college career military readiness.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. I'm going to ask Dr. Kreslin Fannin and Dr. Anthony Mays and Dr. Jacob Breach if they can come forward to provide us an update on this next scorecard item. As they're getting set up, I do want to preface this. We are really working to help explain the data in terms of, for the goal that was selected, which is on the bonus outcome, the dollars that we receive, because it takes an additional 6 months after the graduating class to ensure that they have in fact enrolled and remain for an entire semester. This data that the state provides us under the goal is actually a 2-year lag data. So whenever we look at data for the 21-22 report, it will actually come from the class of 2019. So it's not 1 year data lag, it's a 2-year data lag. So kind of keep that in mind as we look at the numbers, because essentially graduates who have already completed, there is no intervention for students that have graduated from class of 2021. So the class of 2022, which is our current class, is actually the first set of data that we will be able to connect some metrics with some of the interventions, but that report will actually not be until part of the 23-24 school year, because it's always 2 years behind. So we all have to keep ourselves centered as we talk about this particular data. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to the team.
All right, good evening, President Rodriguez, Superintendent Elizalde, and the trustee members. Thank you all for having us this evening. For the Office of School Leadership, our biggest focus in the area of ECHS and PTAC is we want to grow awareness, access, and outcomes. And so with our communications team, we've been working really hard at leveraging social media and print media to grow awareness within our community and promoting the numerous opportunities. I think some of the feedback you all gave us was that we have lots of programs. So it's really about making sure that everybody knows about the programs that we offer. So we've been working hard with that through our pop-ups and community work with our enrollment office, Mr. Delgado, along with our principals. We've been supporting parents and students with completing applications, because we're aware that that's also a hurdle for our families that like to take advantage of our programs. Through our work with Dr. Fannish' team, we are working to grow capacity and support growing success for students with the TSI exam in middle and high school. So we recognize that we have to hit that from both sides, because eventually those middle school successes will count for us. At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Reach, as well as Dr. Fannin, our Executive Director of ECH and PTEC, to share our progress with Goal 5, College, Career, and Military Readiness.
Thank you all. Before we get started, I want to spend just a moment to kind of explain Goal 5, because it is something that we may not always be used to. I know that we're very familiar with CCMR, and of course it stands for College, Career, and Military Readiness. The state does not currently track military readiness. They don't have a reliable way to verify that military readiness indicator. So it's not included in the calculation, but CCMR just kind of stuck, so that's what we're still utilizing. But what I really want to talk about before we start looking at our data is what makes up that CCMR outcomes bonus, because it's something that's unique to the CCMR indicator. And the state, through House Bill 3, actually created some incentives for districts to incentivize 2 focus areas, CCMR and 3rd grade reading and math. And so looking at the CCMR, the state has an overall set goal of 60% of all adults aged 25 to 34 in Texas achieving a post-secondary degree or workforce credential by 2030. You may see this as the 60-30 goal, and it's actually part of our Texas Education Code, and it's a set goal for both higher education and public education. And so the House Bill 3 goal looks at these outcome bonuses focused on the number of students who meet the CCMR threshold for the indicators that are set. So I want to talk just very briefly about what those indicators are and then how they measure it. So the indicators are focused on being college, career, military ready. As I mentioned, we're currently not tracking military readiness, so I'm going to focus on the other 2. And this CCMR bonus is more rigorous than just our standard CCMR levels. So it is looking at both, did a student meet criteria on either the Texas Success Initiative or the SAT, ACT, or TSI assessment, and earned an associate's degree prior to graduation or enrolled in college by the fall immediately after high school graduation. So 2 things needed to occur. They either met that test score and they either enrolled in college or had already earned an associate's degree. And then the career readiness is the TSI score on the SAT, ACT, TSI, and received an industry-based certification at a level 1 or level 2 certification. So when you meet those, they actually set thresholds. So the state created a different bonus of $5,000 for each economically disadvantaged student above that threshold, or $3,000 for each non-economically disadvantaged student above that threshold. In addition, special education students who meet above that threshold bring in $2,000, and that can stack. So a student may be economically disadvantaged and receive special education services, so that's $7,000. And so that is set by looking at what was the 25th percentile of any school district back in 2016, 2017. And so the whole calculation is a little convoluted, but what I can tell you for Austin ISD, what that means is that for all of our students who are economically disadvantaged and meet this criteria, we start earning bonus dollars after we've met 11% of our total population for economically disadvantaged, or 24% for non-economically disadvantaged. You get 100% of your SPED students. So at a basic level, what that means is for the class of 2020, looking at economically disadvantaged, we had 1,836 graduates. Our threshold was 11%. And so that means that out of the 515 who we had, 473 of them earned the bonus, because we don't count those first 11%. And so I know that Dr. Fannin is going to get into some greater detail on both some of these tests that I mentioned and some of these other indicators. So I'll turn it over to her, and happy to answer any future questions.
Thank you, Jack. Dr. Reach. Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. I am going to just go ahead and jump right into Goal 5, which tonight we're here to discuss. It is to increase the percentage of economically disadvantaged students who meet the criteria for CCMR bonus outcomes by August 2026. As we take a look at our board goals monitoring report, this is for our scorecard Goal 5, the overall Goal 5 for our graduates identified as economically disadvantaged who meet the criteria for the CCMR outcomes bonus. And it says that it will increase from 30% and to that has just yet to be determined by the trustees by August 2026. Now, as Dr. Reed shared, we are really looking forward to making a recommendation to align with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board 60%, which is the 60 by 30 of higher education's strategic plan. So we're looking forward to sharing some more information to make that recommendation to increase from 30% to 60%. I want to go ahead and take a further look at Goal 5 and look at those goal progress measures as it relates to our economically disadvantaged students. When we take a look at this table 1 that you see here, I want to really frame that for you. So with the Texas Education Agency under House Bill 3, annually they award the districts the CCMR outcomes bonus funding. And so this funding, again, it is generated based upon the number of our annual graduates who demonstrate college, career, and military readiness in excess of the threshold that Dr. Reed shared with you in those 3 different categories. So what we can say is that our CCMR outcomes bonus, they have something in common, which is that all of the graduates, they really need to meet college readiness standards in those 3 areas: ACT, SAT, and the Texas Success Initiative assessment. So this particular table that you see before us, it demonstrates the overall goal in red, the progress that you're going to see, which has increased overall by about 5%. That is the 29%, which is utilizing the 2019 graduates to 34% graduates based upon the preliminary data of our 2020 graduates. But again, please keep in mind, like Superintendent Elizalde shared, this is 2 years in lag for the overall Goal 5. And this information should come to us finalized by about September 2022. So I want to start in just on GPM 5.1 in particular. I want to focus in on the TSI and our economically disadvantaged students who completed TSI to increase from 46% to 72% by August 2026. So from our table, what you'll see is that economically disadvantaged students completing the TSI, it decreased from 62% for our 2020 graduates to our current preliminary data that you see of 35% for the 2021 graduates. And so that equates to about a 27% decrease between these two cohorts. These two cohorts, they experienced a lot of educational pandemic challenges. They were one of the first groups that had to pivot with their learning. They had to pivot with their instruction. Our teachers had to do that, and with our assessment methods as well. During this time, it was just a really strong virtual year of instruction, and we really had to balance a series of challenges as it related to making sure that we were providing these college readiness assessments. The TSIA-2 administration, a new test that came about. The test administration, it moved to be primarily online, and it was only offered in places like on Zoom, where that our practice could only administer the exam to 5 students at a time, rotating in and out of those breakout rooms to make sure that they ensured test security. And this also just reduced our testing capacity because of the proctoring that needed to take place to make sure that it was secure and online. We also had to cancel many of our general Saturday administrations that we would normally have for the SAT and ACT due to the COVID safety concerns for the 2021 school year. There were also a few college admissions testing optional policies. Across the country, colleges and states, they adopted test optional admissions policies for the 2020-2021 and 21-22 school year. And what this means is that our students, they didn't have to take or submit an SAT or an ACT. They didn't have to submit those scores to be considered for college admissions. And so the effect of this is that many of them, that the SAT and ACT serves as the exemption for them, they opted not to take the test. And it served as an exception for the TSI as well. And so we in Austin ISD, we also provide SAT School Day to all of our juniors. During this school day, so that they don't have to come on a Saturday, we would offer it during the school day every year. And again, that became an option due to the COVID safety reasons. And it continued with the college test option policies that they put into place as well. Lastly, you'll see that the state changed the TSI assessment. I mentioned it's now the TSIA-2. And that is where in January of 2021, they made a combination of the reading and the writing sections to become the English Language Arts and Reading section, combining those two sections of the test together. In previous years for our CCMR bonus outcomes, the students only had to pass the math and then the reading section only. So this right here is probably the most significant challenge for Goal 5 overall, but I wanted to make sure that I highlighted some of those highlights for you. The things that I'm seeing, GPM 5.2 is focused in on increasing the percentage of economically disadvantaged students who earn at least 12 college hours. For our GPM that is now at 3% to 10% by August 2026. But what we may want to do is revisit that because our baseline really should be 6.7%, and just kind of taking a look at that to see if we can make an amendment from that 3% because it was incorrect and should be 6.7%. From our table, what you'll see is that our economically disadvantaged students completing at least 12 college hours, it increased from 13.4% for our 2020 graduates to our current preliminary data, and that's preliminary data for our 2021 graduates, which is now at 14.5%. But that is the preliminary data for the 2021 graduates. So I want to emphasize just on a high note that our economically disadvantaged students, they're currently exceeding that 10% goal that was scheduled for 2026. And so this is something that we should celebrate, that they are exceeding the goal that we set there. Moving into GPM 5.3, which is increasing the percentage of economically disadvantaged students who earn an industry-based certification from the Texas Education Agency's approved list to what is GPM, let's say it increased from 5% to an undetermined goal that we will set further by August 2026. So our data table here, it demonstrates that our economically disadvantaged students completing an IBC, it increased slightly from 7% for our 2020 graduates to our current preliminary data, again, that preliminary data for the 2021 graduates to 7.9% that you'll see here. Now, finally, we're going to look at GPM 5.4, which states that the percentage of economically disadvantaged students who complete at least one advanced placement or international baccalaureate course will increase from 17.6% to that undetermined goal that we'll make a decision on by August 2026. So please note that this is the only GPM that you see here on this table that captures our current 9th grade through 12th grade students. And so from this data table, what you'll see is that our economically disadvantaged students completing at least one AP or IB course, it did decrease from 15.8% to our current preliminary data of 14.9%. So we know we have some work to do. Next slide. On this chart, what you'll see is some progress and next steps that I want to make sure that I address in my next session as well on the presentation. But I like to take a look at this chart here. What you'll see is a line graph here. And this is still goal 5, the overall goal, the sharing this preliminary data for our 2020 graduates. Keep in mind that it is still a 2-year lag for the overall goal 5, and that's going to come to us in the fall of around September. If you look at the table at the bottom, what you'll see is preliminary outcomes bonus estimates for our 2020 annual graduates. This is now where we get into the outcomes bonus piece. TEA designates, in order to qualify for an outcomes bonus, schools and districts must exceed the minimum thresholds, such as what Dr. Reach shared for us, for college, career, and military readiness. But I really want to walk you through this chart at the bottom. 11% is what you'll see of our annual graduates who are economically disadvantaged on that first row demonstrate readiness. The second one is 24% of our annual graduates who are not economically disadvantaged demonstrate readiness. And then the third row, there's no minimum threshold for our graduates enrolled in a special education program, regardless of whether they are economically disadvantaged. So I want to walk you through that just a little bit further. For our preliminary data that you're going to see for our economically disadvantaged students, that first row, what we needed was 201 of our graduates to meet that 11% threshold. We estimate that 627 of the 2020 graduates will meet the CCMR outcomes bonus criteria. So what this means is that 426, you'll see that in bold, 426 economically disadvantaged 2020 graduates, they qualified for the CCMR outcomes bonus. On the next row, for non-economically disadvantaged, what you'll see is that we needed 646 graduates to meet the 24% threshold. So we estimate that 1,865 of the 2020 graduates will meet the CCMR outcome bonus criteria, which means that 1,219 of our non-economically disadvantaged graduates will qualify for the outcomes bonus. And keep in mind that this is still the preliminary data, and I'm just going to continue to walk you through those outcomes. But lastly, on the third row for special education student group, there's still not a minimum for that threshold, but we estimate that 38 of the special education 2020 graduates will qualify for the outcomes bonus. On the next chart, which is our final chart, we're going to take a look at the economically disadvantaged student groups. Looking at our progress monitoring report, we see that we still have some work to do to support our student groups. And I wanted to point out that among our student groups, we see that our white economically disadvantaged students, they outperformed all other student groups. And I wanted to keep saying that, you know, and be clear that this overall goal 5, it's still 2 years in a delay. But for our GPM, for 5.2, our baseline for earning at least 12 college credit hours, we should definitely make that correction of that 6.7%. The preliminary of all those student groups, with the exception of the emergent bilingual and special education student groups that you'll see, they have exceeded this GPM. And we're really looking forward to continuing that collaboration with the multilingual and special education departments to really better serve those populations. For GPM 5.3, what stands out is that overall consistent decrease across all of our student groups in the number of industry-based certifications earned from the preliminary reports. And we should note that the majority of those IBCs, those industry-based certifications, they're administered at the end of each school year. But we try to make sure that we align those with our CTE programs of study, and that those exams, they typically take place and happen in the level 4 classes, typically in the second semester of their senior year. And finally, taking a look at GPM 5.4, we still see that there are some opportunities to expand and advanced placement offerings for those student groups. So I'm going to walk us through overall progress. What we see is that we feel like we are at developing. And I'm going to take us to our PowerPoint that we have here in our slide deck. Throughout the months of March and April, our campuses have been hosting our TSI boot camps and really facilitating that with the support of Mastery Prep. Our campuses are leveraging academic platforms such as iExcel and OdysseyWare, really to help provide those interventions that we're going to need prior to the TSI retesting. And I really love this picture because this was from yesterday, where we have our teachers, our champions, as I like to call them. They joined us here at headquarters to engage in just some really high quality instruction and really learning about the TSI and how they can take this and embed it into the classroom with their instructional practices. So we're going to continue to provide them with this professional learning opportunities throughout the remainder of the year and the summer. And this summer, we're going to continue to engage with our STEM and humanities department, really aligning the TSI assessment with the state-based TEKS. And it's really important that our champions, that our teachers that you see here in this picture, they are the most important and impactful asset to our scholars. Our teachers are the program, and that's why we have to continue to make sure they have everything that they need in their classrooms to help our scholars be successful. We're really proud of our partnership with Austin Community College for dual credit and also working with the University of Texas on-ramps to provide those opportunities to our scholars. Our comprehensive campuses, they also offer those dual credit options to their students as well. And we're just going to continue to make those adjustments strategically to offer on-ramps courses. We're looking at the adjustments that we're making with working with school leadership and the Office of Academics, and making sure that we come together with that leadership to identify those. On our next slide. Our industry-based certifications, taking a look at how we're going to align those with our programs of study, making sure that our associate degrees for PTEX have those industry-based certifications built into the program of study, and leveraging Google Analytics, another industry-based certification that's on the Texas Education Agency's list of approved certifications, to make sure that it aligns with those scholars who are not sitting in CTE courses at the moment, but we want to give everybody an opportunity to earn an industry-based certification in case they choose to go into the workforce. And lastly, with our advanced placement and IB, making sure that we're connecting the dots with on-ramps, with advanced placement, with international baccalaureate. You'll see some really great gains that we've had by working together, making sure that our families are aware of those opportunities and the benefits that they can have coming from working together with our counseling department avid, as you heard earlier today, in our early college programs, just really to raise that awareness in our communities. So our next steps really are just centered around those two major buckets, which is focusing in on professional development and focusing in on the data. We're going to continue to offer our teachers, our champions, a lot of professional development that they need to really help them to be successful in the classrooms with our scholars, and making sure that our scholars have everything that they need so that they can have it all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fannin, Dr. Mays, Dr. Reach. Trustees, now is the time for us to ask questions on the current vision. Our goal tonight is monitoring and ensuring our reality matches the vision presented. So when asking questions, we should try to focus on the data presented, asking questions about who, what, why, and how. So trustees, questions? Trustee Singh?
Thank you so much for this excellent presentation. This is such detailed information, and I can tell that it was probably quite a task to get all this together. So thank you to all the staff that worked on this. So a couple of questions. One is, Dr. Fannin, can you just really simply help me understand, and I know you did cover this, but I just want to check for understanding here. How close are we to hitting that threshold for the CCMR bonus from the state for our ECO-DIS and for our non-ECO-DIS students?
It is an overall goal for Goal 5. We are directly impacting the work that we can right now with the scholars that are sitting in those classrooms. What we recognize is that we have some work to do with our underclassmen. Because this data is 2 years in a lag, what we're doing is we're looking at what are our sophomores doing, what are our juniors doing. That's what's going to help us to reach our goal. And if we continue to do that and focus in on working with our teachers who are our champions, they're our program. We have to equip them with everything that they need to be successful. That's what's going to make the difference for us.
Yeah.
But right now, the data that will be shown has already occurred.
Yeah.
So we really can't, if the preliminary data are accurate, we will be above the threshold and we'll be above what we received before.
Okay.
But the biggest issue is, it really is data that is inaccessible to us because it's already been completed. And we have 2 years of that. We have class of 2020 and we have class of 2021. So we're going to see numbers come in that we really can't intervene in, which is why the numbers that we're working with our students currently, we're not going to see that actually on a data chart or a data table for 2 years after this graduating class.
Why is it taking TEA so long to get us that information?
And
We
Dr.
need
Reach,
it.
I've asked him that question. I told him
it.
to please call the Texas Education Agency and fix that.
I agree, and we do try our best to estimate it, but the reason is because students have that second choice, so it's the associate's degree or the enrollment in post-secondary education.
Yeah.
And of course, they are looking at a measure that includes, I believe that they're up to over 99% of all universities using who provides the SAT.
National Student Clearinghouse.
Yes, the National Student Clearinghouse.
Yeah.
But that data does not come back to the state until almost a year later because the student must enroll and stay enrolled.
Okay.
Being enrolled is not enough. And so once the state receives that data, they then go
it
back and
filters.
verify it, and they say, okay, this student did go to this high school, they did graduate from there, they are still enrolled, yes, that meets it. And then they provide us their preliminary data 6 months after that.
Okay.
So now we're talking about a
Yeah.
total of 18 months.
Okay. But we should be able to get the career information more quickly because they graduate with that
And so what we're able to estimate is we can do the career portion. We
Okay.
can also tell you the students who met the testing requirement, and we can tell you based off of the data that we have. One, if it's a Texas public university, actually we can tell you if they enrolled, and we
Okay.
can do that rather quickly. It's for the private universities and the out-of-state universities that we just don't have access to that data. But we do survey students to ask, are you going off to college?
Okay.
And so we use that to kind of give ourselves an estimate on where do we think we're going to be on that. But we won't know until we get that final data. And of course, the other important thing is not just that they enrolled, but that they stayed enrolled.
Okay, all right. So, so looking at the tables, okay, so the first one, I'm just noting the things that stand out to me is it looks like we're kind of flat, knowing that this is lagging data. But the one that stands out to me is our 2021 grads didn't do so hot on the TSI. And I think we can probably attribute a lot of that to COVID, right?
The denominator stays the same. The number of graduates is the number of graduates. The class of 2021 is the graduates that had almost a year and a half in COVID.
That's right.
That's also the year that colleges provided optional entrance exams. So many students did not
Okay.
take it. So the 35% is only representative of those that met it, but yet the denominator stays the same. If that,
Okay.
so there were a whole bunch of students that didn't take.
Got it.
They didn't have to take any
Okay.
for college admissions. So it's going to be an anomaly for that 1 year.
Got it, okay. And then looking at the line graph, do we happen to have state comparison data here? Like, are we kind of trending with the same pattern that we're seeing statewide, or are we doing better?
So we could create a comparison based off of their CCMR final data. We can't off the bonuses because the thresholds are unique to each individual district.
Okay,
And so perhaps what we could share for a future report is we could say, here's how many students overall we had meet it compared to the state.
okay,
And I think part of that is because you all as a board elected to be very specific with the goal with economically disadvantaged and the bonuses, which is not the way in which the state calculates it. So we have to go
Yeah.
and tease it out to do a real apples to apples comparison, if that makes, like,
For sure.
this isn't one of the areas that they report on the state level, they do the overall.
okay.
And so, but we can still, I think the point is well taken. We could still do, it still would be helpful to look at, just in comparison to even our overall, what does that look like to the state?
Cool. Okay. I appreciate that, because, if obviously, like, these aren't, the scores here from the 2021 graduates on their surface don't look great, but if relatively we're doing better than all of the peer districts, then you interpret it a little bit differently. If we're doing worse than our peer districts, then you interpret that a little differently. So I was curious to know, and once again, I wish our state agencies would kind of give us, have the data for us so that we can actually target students a little better. But the other thing is looking at the table at the bottom of page 2. Okay, so this is where my first question was kind of coming from with the threshold. I thought I heard Dr. Fannin say, maybe I misheard, but I thought I heard you say it was 20% for EcoDis and then 24 for non, or is it 11?
So it's 11.
Okay, I must have misheard you. Okay, and so then if I'm looking across here, how am I supposed to look at the numbers, like right here, like in the next column? Like, should that be trying to get to 11%? Or, like, I'm trying to understand how the threshold column relates to the other columns next to it.
So I think, obviously, these aren't real numbers, but I think the easiest way I could explain it is if we had 1,000 students who met these indicators that were economically disadvantaged, we would receive bonus funding for 89% of them, and 11% of them we wouldn't. So 890 of them would have received bonus funding, and 110 would not, because that first 11% doesn't count towards your bonus. That's your
Okay.
threshold.
Okay.
And then for the non-EcoDis, it's 24, but for special education, every student who meets it under special education, you get that bonus money for.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And this
All right.
was set off of 2016 data on what was 25% of Austin ISD students. And that's where they set these, and now these thresholds, unless the law changes, will be set for Austin ISD in the future.
Okay. So, Dr. Elizalde, so it's not like, in your professional opinion, it sounds like we are, like, based on preliminary data, that we are on track.
Well, we didn't
For
put
the-
ourselves on track. We put ourselves below that at
Okay.
developing.
Okay.
Because we are seeing improvement, we are seeing gains,
Okay.
but we're seeing them from the grade level that we currently have, and we're having to then estimate what that's going to be.
Okay.
And so we do see improvement, but I'm not confident in saying that we're on target yet,
Okay.
because we haven't gotten enough information to compare either to other similarly positioned districts or the state, to the question that you asked earlier.
Okay.
So I definitely think we're seeing some gains. Is it enough to say we're on target? I'm not comfortable doing that, but we definitely are not seeing a regression, even at a time when other districts are seeing some regression. And I say that because we do meet with the Texas Urban Council, and so we are privy to being able to see some of their comparative data. And so we can kind of take a pulse of where some of those districts are.
Okay, cool. And I did have one question about, was it this one? Yeah, I think it was the table at the bottom of page 3. So this was super useful because I think we're looking at our the SY 22-23 column. That's our current students right now.
No.
Oh,
Well,
darn.
yes.
Okay.
I think we're looking at our current seniors.
That would
and
show
we're
up in
saying,
next year's report.
Even though they really won't show up on the goal, because
Yeah.
the goal is 2 years, but we
Yes.
know we can impact that. So
Okay.
yes, we put it in the 22-23. Yes, ma'am. That
Okay,
is
so
what we
this was
did.
like super useful because we want to, like, I want to know what's happening right now. So
Correct.
thank you for doing this. This kind of goes above and beyond. And it gives me a really good picture of like answering that question, are we kind of on track or not? And so when I look at this, I do thank you for noting, what the different student groups, how they're doing. And I'm hoping to see, it was a little interesting to see that for each of the groups, if I'm reading this correctly, we have gone down, like African American, like looking at the TSI, for example, it's gone down from 27% from last year's grads to 20% with our current set of 12th graders. For Hispanic students, it's gone down from 32% passing the TSI.
So there's just one
Am I
important,
interpreting-
you're
yeah.
absolutely right, but there's one piece of information. The previous years, since that data's already essentially closed out,
It's the
our
whole year.
interim report, we still have time. So
Yeah.
for instance, that
Semester.
previous subset data includes all the way through the summer. I think it's
Okay.
June, so students can still, which is included
Okay.
in the school year 21-22 in the
Okay.
lighter color. But what
Okay.
happens currently is we gave you real numbers of what we think we have right now, not saying
Okay.
how many more students are we going to get from the second
Okay.
semester or in the summer.
Okay,
So
so
we're
that's
giving
good.
you the worst case scenario.
Okay.
We did not want to, we wanted to manage expectations, and we didn't want to inflate something that we
Got
actually
it.
can't count yet.
Okay, so thank you. And I apologize to all the people who have no idea what we're talking about right now. Sorry. But this is important stuff. And, but, okay, so my concern is, which I know it's your concern as well, is our white students are the only group that have actually shown an improvement from last year. Like, the interim score for this year is even higher than the entire, the 2021, the graduating class of 2021. That's a little concerning. I'm glad for that group, but I'm concerned because for all the other groups, it's actually gone down. And so I want to know, like, what we're doing to disrupt that pattern. Like, I know we're doing professional development, but, like, how are we doing it to disrupt that pattern, I guess, through an equity lens?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is that while we're looking at a number that says in a particular grade, we always have to remember that this is a pre-K or K through 12 score. It may show up in a senior year, but this is about the continuum of the curriculum. So we know that we've had inequitable practices, and our ends are also smaller. So we also had a smaller number of students in that category. Since after COVID, we had, as most districts throughout the state after COVID, had a decline in enrollment. So it's also right now a little difficult to tease out until we get down to the campus level, which is what the team is doing. So rather than putting in a one-size-fits-all approach, we're going campus by campus to see where those anomalies or great practices exist. And then are those some practices that can equitably be implemented at a different school through teacher-led professional development. But we're still working on that plan, as this is, again, the first time we've been able to even gather this information early on enough that we can actually begin to intervene prior to the numbers actually then coming out in a
Got it.
report.
Okay.
So much work to do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Trustees, any other questions? Trustee Boswell?
Thank you for all of this. It's extremely helpful to see it and exciting to see the ambition here and really keeping our promises to prepare students for college, career, and life. I really appreciate the depth of the information and the framing of awareness, access, and outcomes, really seeing that it's that whole system. And I appreciate the strategies that weren't part of the PowerPoint, but that are embedded in the full report that you've shared with us. So thank you very much for that. I have a clarifying question first on GPM 5.1, the TSI. The goal itself says TSI, but the description from the conversation we've had, it sounds like that incorporates also the SAT and the ACT. Am I understanding that correctly?
TSI is the large umbrella that just indicates college readiness. It doesn't, so it's the larger group, and then underneath it, there are the variety of ways in which you can demonstrate that college readiness. And so that can come through SAT, ACT.
Or TSIA.
Or TSIA, or TSIA 2, the new
Okay,
one.
so the TSIA is the test, the TSI is the umbrella, the bucket.
Correct.
Thank you, that is extremely helpful to me, I appreciate that. And I think we have reason to believe that waivers of SAT and ACT will probably become a permanent feature at many colleges. And I want to be sure, especially with the opportunity to offer that SAT day, the ACT may have a similar program, but I'm aware of SATs that if you qualify for free and reduced price lunch and you apply for a fee waiver for the SAT, they will pay your college application fees at, I think, 2,000 colleges. And I want to be sure that we're going back to awareness and access, that we're making sure families and students know that when they opt in or out of that SAT day, and that we're making sure our students have what they need to take advantage of that program.
We do have access to that. There's also a limited number of slots that are available. It's not a one-for-one. And so it is about how quickly we get those students that do meet that to complete their applications. And you're absolutely correct. The quicker we do that, then those students would qualify. But there are certain, and I don't remember the number, I'd have to look and see what that number is. But there is a limit to how many of those they do cover.
Right. But we're not letting the fact that it's not required by most schools keep students from participating.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm interested in learning a bit more about your conversations about access and some of the bullet points that you shared under the adjustments being made in terms of making counselors on campuses more aware of AP testing and all the big range on-ramps, early college, high school, all those options, making sure that teachers are trained to be AP teachers, and also what work is not just being done with counselors and teachers, but also being done with families. So I'm curious to know about that access piece and awareness, just that awareness that leads to that access.
Absolutely. One thing that we're definitely doing is making sure that we're sharing those opportunities with all of our scholars. We're working with our counseling department hand in hand to make sure that they're sharing this when we're talking to our scholars about choosing the courses that they want to enter. I think it's important that they know what are the courses that I need to take to reach a certain goal. So when we start as early as possible to talk about, well, what does this look like? What type of math do I need to take in order to reach this goal? What type of science do I need to take to reach this goal? We're having those conversations early on. We're working with our advanced academics department. Dr. Severance is here with me today, and working with our IB students, AP students, to make sure that they are well educated about those opportunities and how that exam plays a role into what you see as our GPMs as well. So just making sure we're working together cross-departmentally.
Great, thank you for that, Dr. Vannon, and Dr. Severance, thank you for your work on that as well. Similarly, I have a question just about inequitable offerings from campus to campus. We know that, you know, not every campus can offer every single class, and that we have to make choices, and that there aren't, we don't have equitable access everywhere to, you know, either CTE programs or high-level math classes or early math, all the different things that kind of go into this. And I'm curious to know, you know, kind of what we know about how that's playing into the numbers we're seeing, and what you might need from us to help make sure that that's not a barrier to getting students where they need to be.
So some of those are true systemic challenges for us, and so we recognize that we have not had a standard course selection sheet, right, or a standard guide from campus to campus for which courses are going to be offered. That's something that we are working to standardize across our system and create systems for course approval, so we can have a better gauge of what courses are offered where, so we can see where our holes are. Dr. Elizalde is a true stickler for us being aware of what the master schedules offer, so we did have our entire secondary team sit down and go through all of those schedules, and we noticed some of the disparities that we have too. And so that's an ongoing process. The standardization process actually won't even roll out till next year. We did a lot of the work this year, but we also see that, and we're working to try to close those holes.
And some of those are long-term interventions. For example, doing opt-outs of students that are already meeting certain criteria from elementary to middle school. Right now, those are opt-in in many of our schools. So just currently right now, I was just visiting with Susan Dawson today from E3 Alliance. They're going to work with Dr. Mays and his team to have some principal training on what opting out looks like, because there seemed to have been some confusion with some of our departments about whether that was something that we could be expecting our principals to be able to move forward with. So some moves like that, students that are already doing really well in 5th grade as they move into 6th grade, going ahead and being put in these advanced courses as opposed to waiting for a parent or guardian to say, I want my child in this advanced course. That simple move could affect upwards of our data analysis of about 33% of students who are not in advanced courses because a parent may not have known that that's something they could do. Well, that then creates this issue of, do I have enough students for an AP stats class or an AP calculus class? Well, if we didn't prepare the student along the way, then that's the reason why the students aren't there. It's not because the students can't do the work, it's that we didn't provide them the on-ramp, no pun intended to UT, but to be able to accelerate their mathematics. So we're moving to an opt-out rather than an opt-in. So students will automatically be going into more advanced courses based on their projection, based on their current performance in different areas. It could be their grades, it could be at a standardized test, it could be MAP, it could be a state assessment. We don't need to pick just one, and in fact, we need to provide avenues for allowing kids in rather than finding reasons why kids have to stay out.
Thank you. I feel like jumping up and cheering about that. That is, I know opt-out has been very powerful in a lot of areas with a lot of coursework, so thank you for that. And I hope what that does is, as we're looking at what's offered where, really making sure that we're expanding what's offered, not narrowing what's offered anywhere, because I know everywhere kids run out of math, run out of language at every campus, and making sure we're being creative about that and letting us know how we can support that. So thank you for that. And then I just want to say one more thing. I know we're in an incredibly tight budget situation, but really want to speak for what I would love to see us explore the value of dedicated college and career counselors on every high school campus. And I know, Dr. Elizalde, you and I have had a conversation about that. I know later tonight we're looking at partnerships, and I know there are many, many ways that that work is done, but having one person on a campus that does only that, eventually I hope we can get to the place in our budget where that is something we do on every single campus, because it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I think both from a budget perspective and on the other hand, we also want to provide the campuses some autonomy in creating what the additional allocation would be, because in some instances, we've seen that campuses having an additional counselor, but actually distributing that all of them are college campus, college readiness, but in smaller groups of students. It has been as effective as adding an additional FTE and someone who's dedicated to that. So we do want to include our community and our principals in how that additional, when we get to that point, we do think, or contracting with college access providers as Education is Freedom, there are other organizations, and then being able to start with those schools that need the most assistance in that. So maybe we aren't going to be able to do it for everyone, but can we start in some areas sooner than others? So I know the team is constantly looking at how we can do that. So we agree with you, and we'll continue to work towards that.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Boswell. Trustees, other questions? Trustee Lugo?
All right, thank you all for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. So I'm thinking about two big groups that probably won't surprise y'all. So first of all, thinking about students, not just informing them, but what kind of feedback, and if it hasn't been done previously, that's okay, but what kind of plans are in place to ensure that we're hearing directly from students? Like, hey, what do you think would work better? Hey, you took advantage of this course. How do we get that information out to more students? And genuinely, create that space so that students know that we really want to hear from them and we want to see how their ideas might be implemented. I think that could be really powerful. Does that happen at all, or are there plans to make that happen?
I don't think there's a formal process of that in place. I think right now a lot of that is anecdotal. It's not systematic. We're not collecting even the anecdotal information that we have. For instance, is there a process for a 4-year plan where we gather information and feedback? Yes. But did we go to do exactly the question you asked, is at the end of that year, did we get student feedback about what was helpful, what wasn't helpful, what would have been more helpful? And each year following that, I think we can look, we have not done it in that way. So I think doing more of a systematic guidance, counseling guidance lessons within certain courses where we could do something that would create some student feedback certainly would be something that we could add in to gather that information as we create some additional plans.
Thanks. And then the other group is parents, and I know Trustee Boswell already asked a similar question, but I'm thinking about, at each touch point that the district has with parents or adults, guardians, right? So if I think of talking with a preschool parent, people might assume they're a preschool parent, they're not going to think about college. But you'd be surprised how many people are like, no, I want my 4-year-old to get up out of the house, have a job. I want them, right? And same with middle schoolers and high schoolers, obviously. And so two things. One, are we gathering feedback from, and if we're not, I completely understand, but what's the plan going forward to gather meaningful feedback from parents? What would be helpful for you to know so that you can support your student as they're entering middle, as they're entering high school, as they're entering senior year, when everybody starts to think about it and it's you should have started in 6th grade. So can y'all talk a little bit about that? So eliciting feedback and then also communication out to them.
I think we're doing a better job on communicating out, definitely, than we are in gathering or eliciting feedback. Again, I think it's the same description that I made for students. I think we're talking about ensuring that at elementary we are beginning to have, even within the curriculum, for instance, some activities could include having students in third grade write a letter to 3 colleges. You can tie it to both reading, writing, and geography by asking students to apply to colleges that are outside of the state of Texas. And you get an application and you begin that. And then we could involve parents. Those are some ideas that have been circled around embedding it within the curriculum so that it would be more than, we also want to be careful of survey fatigue. So how do we elicit it in a meaningful way and not always being through a survey? So working with our academics office, we have not finalized the curriculum, but that has been part of the conversation. I don't know that we've thought about, to your point, a pre-K student. We did think about like third graders as they're writing letters. There's also some programs that we've looked at that were in place in Boston, that as a child is born, they get information about a school district. Like you get hospital records and you mail this out and they get a little onesie that says class of, 2030, and so you begin to build a relationship with the family prior to them even entering. And part of that is to build that relationship. If we could start getting feedback from parents at that point, I think we would certainly be able to design a system that's more responsive to their needs. So we'll certainly be adding that into our action plan for how we can systematically begin to gather more feedback from both students and families and parents.
Great, thank you. And then this one is more of a question out of curiosity. I know it's not falling in line with I do try to follow the progress monitoring questions. But out of curiosity, do students ever get to tour the Workforce Solutions Center? I know there's one south, so right south of Ben White, and then there's one by the Old Highland Mall. Is that ever something?
We actually just did some work with Texas Workforce Solutions. They attended our CTE signing day that we had on Monday at Austin Energy, so we were very excited about that. They also provide some externships for our teachers as well. So just making sure that we have that partnership going with them.
That's great. That's really awesome. Yeah, if folks who are watching or will tell somebody else to watch, if folks haven't visited the Workforce Solutions Center, I mean, there's so many resources that people can get, whether a person already has employment or they're looking for, additional training. Like, there's really a lot of support, and many times people just aren't aware of it. So I'm glad to hear that there is some sort of connection there between AISD and Capital Area Workforce Solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lugo. Trustees, other questions? Trustee Zapata and then Trustee Foster.
My magnifier just ran out of batteries, so bear with me. So I just wanted to say a comment and a couple of questions. Comment about why I think Trustee Singh that you mentioned, why is it, excuse me, that the white population continues to improve? And I am reminded, I was reminded that a lot of our students didn't have tablets when we went in COVID. They didn't even know how to use them. Where the other side of 35, there was no interruption like there was on my side. And so that's going to stay with us for a while. So I don't think it's not on the staff that these numbers aren't getting better. The pandemic has really, really hurt our students. I have talked to many students at my schools, and they hate the test. They say, why does it have to be so long? We get tired, we're bored, and we just check whatever we can. So there are things that we can even help to change that. How do we begin thinking about that? Because there's still so many students who feel they are so far behind, and that they're beginning to feel hopeless. And so I think what staff are doing is great, and needs to continue to be happy. And I know you are doing your best, but I just want to remind all of us that there's still so many students who, when they're more than 4 siblings and they had to take turns being on Zoom. And so many of them were out of school completely, So I just want to remind us about that. Also on, you mentioned about the, let's see, what does this one say? The certification starts in the second semester. Did I hear that correctly?
That there are additional certifications that students can still complete in the second semester.
Okay.
So some of them are getting them in the first semester, but that's the number we have. There's still students that could get their certification in the second semester that aren't included in the numbers yet.
Oh, okay. So they do have an opportunity at the beginning of the school year.
Oh, yes.
To-
For certifications, there are several times throughout the year.
Okay.
It's not just one and done.
okay.
They will have several opportunities to work towards completing that certification.
Okay, great. And I agree with the comments about we need to give as much support to our teachers. And it's not only physical and emotional support, but it's materials. Many of our staff are saying, we don't have paper. We can get more paper. We're only budgeted so much paper. We can't, so there are supplies that are needed. So business community, I hope you're listening, that you could sponsor supplies for our staff, our teachers to have at their campuses, because teachers, we should not be relying on teachers to buy their own supplies. That is a sin to do that. So I hope that we can begin to have conversations with the business community to sponsor school supplies for teachers so that they do have everything they need to be creative and innovative in their classroom to help teach their best and not be limited. So it's not just paper and copies, but what else? So I wanted to comment about that because, yes, I hear it, I've seen it, I'm visiting my schools. And so I think we just got to keep that as a priority in the support area as well. And then drop class. Oh, so there did used to be, I'm trying to remember who funded the counselor for only college to help students create their college plan. And I didn't think they were gone. So if I think it was Michael and Susan Dale that sponsored that one position. But it was a company, it was a funder that sponsored that. So again, we don't have that extra money, but there are partners we can approach that are probably willing to help us to during these times of trying to get back on track after COVID, that they can write off too. It would help them. So I didn't know if you knew that, Dr. Lizalde, because I work closely with many of them at the high schools.
We'll definitely look into where that is. I do know we've maintained the student to counselor ratio, regardless of the fact that that we were in a difficult budget setting. We did not change that. We kept that lower than the state average. But how principals then designate the counselors has been different. So some schools may actually take one counselor and say, I'm going to dedicate this person just to do college career readiness. And another campus may divide up the students into smaller groups and have all the counselors be responsible for college career readiness. Some schools do it by grade level. Some campuses do it by last name alpha, so that they stay with students for 4 years as a cohort group. So there are different designs in how they're doing, and that could be why some campuses have, again, it's, does it look equitable or is it equitable? But I think, again, to all of your points, we will definitely look in and have conversations with our secondary team regarding counselors and how we can provide some assistance.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, yeah, very good. Okay, I think that's all I have. Thank you so much. thank you all, staff, for all your hard work.
Thank you, Trustee Zapata. Trustee Foster? You're good? Okay. I think I had two comments. One is, well, actually, one comment and a question. So one was thank you so much for the data, especially around the update around the 3%, moving to 6.7%. So I appreciate the accountability and the transparency around that, especially the fact that the preliminary data shows that you're doubling that. So I hope that trend continues and it doubles again. That might be a high achieving goal, but I really appreciate y'all's transparency there. The last thing I want to say is just thank you to the trustees and to Dr. Elizalde and Dr. Fan and Dr. Mays and Dr. Reach. As part of our commitment to monitoring, the very last question we have been asking ourselves as trustees, if we accept the report presented as it aligns with our goals and constraints, and if not, to ask if this is still the right strategy for the district. So trustees, please raise your right hand if you're ready to accept tonight's report. So thank you all very much. We will now, thank you trustees for taking part in the shared commitment to students and student outcomes. So we're now going to, and thank you all very much. We're now going to move to public testimony for items on the consent agenda. Members of the public wishing to participate in the public testimony portion of our meeting called the dedicated AISD phone line in advance of the meeting to sign up to speak in person or to audio record their remarks. So tonight, we have 14 people signed up to speak in person, and we have 34 who've left a recorded message. So first, we're now going to play the recorded messages for public testimony. So trustees, please listen carefully.
Good day. My name is Aura Elliott Houston. I'm a product of segregated Austin Independent School, of the Austin Independent School District, graduate of Houston Tillotson College, former elected official. I'm calling today regarding item 13.1, naming process for new middle school in Northeast Austin. General Marshall was a wonderful person, a neighbor and a friend. He was an inspiring educator, active in the community, fair and considerate, a leader who knew how to listen, observe, and encourage input from voices which were sometimes overlooked. He was an all-around good guy, a great example for future generations of students in Austin. I encourage the board to name the new middle school in Northeast Austin for Dr. General Marshall. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.
My name is Gregory Harrington. I'm the president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, which is the Gamma Eta Lambda chapter, which is the Austin alumni chapter here in Austin, Texas. I'm calling in regard to the naming of the school after Dr. General Marshall. He is an amazing fraternity brother of ours. He passed in 2020, but very active in our community. He is a longtime professor at Houston Tillotson University, and one of the best programs that I recall him doing was the Austin Pre-Freshman Engineering Program. I'm also a software engineer working at Dell, and prior to that, working at Pervasive Software and even IBM. But one of the coolest things about this program is it taught STEM to these young people all these years. Another program that he actually taught was teacher certification, which actually allowed more and more teachers to become certified within the state of Texas. And of course, you will hear a lot about his golf game. He is the only person that I know of that literally has hit a hole-in-one and won a car. So lots of history there as it relates to the Lions Municipal Golf Course. But I give him honor. It's an honor to do this testimony.
Good evening. My name is Candace Hunter, and I'm an AISD parent. I'm calling in regards to Section 7, Student Achievement. The district administration, whether intentional or not, is causing semantic satiation, the psychological phenomenon in which repetition causes a word or phrase to temporarily lose meaning for the listener, who then perceives the speech as repeated, meaningless sound. Equity is more than an educational buzzword. According to the district's own site, AISD should be working to ensure equal high outcomes for all participants in our educational system, removing the predictability of success or failures that currently correlates with any social or cultural factor. It should also be disrupting inequitable practices. I am concerned about the progress of these goals. I have a question and a request. 1, why are students MAP testing after the STAR? 2, please share with the board and the community MAP data grades 3 through 8 in its entirety, not just growth. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Anthony Diggs, D-I-G-G-S. I graduated from Austin Independent School District in 1983 and am a current resident of the community. I support the efforts to get a school named after General Marshall in the AISD community. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Larry Abram, and I'm a community member and longtime supporter and parent and activist with AISD. I'm calling to speak to item 13.1, the naming process for the new middle school in Northeast Austin, to strongly support the suggestion of Trustee Kevin Foster that we consider the name of a very prominent native Austinite who grew up in Austin, went to school in Austin, Dr. General Marshall. Dr. Marshall attended Anderson High School, Houston Tillotson, professor of mathematics for many years, and was a prominent member of the East Austin community. It would be wonderful to have his contributions to our city recommended and to our school district recommended and supported by naming this new middle school, which is located in East Austin, for him. I urge you to take this seriously, to consider this. And
good morning. I'm Lenora D. Waters, Dr. Lenora D. Waters from the Ebenezer Baptist Church, speaking to item 13.1, naming process for the new middle school in Northeast Austin. I'm a 51-year resident of Austin and recommend that the new Northeast Austin School be named for Dr. General G. Marshall. Dr. Marshall spent numerous hours volunteering and mentoring and tutoring AISD students in mathematics. Dr. Marshall was an African-American born in Clarksville, and he graduated from Keeling High School, from the original Anderson High School, from Morris College, received a master's degree in math from UT Austin in 1966, and a PhD in math from the University of Houston in 1976. He taught at Houston.
Hi, this is Leslie Tucker. I work for a program called Breakthrough, who is an ASD partner, and I'm also a former employee. And I am wanting to call about item 13.1, naming the new middle school in Northeast Austin, Texas. And I'd like it to be named after Dr. General Marshall. I'm a former student of his and was an amazing professor as well as a pillar in the community. I hope you all decide to name him as the school after him. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Mary Kraft Hill. I'm calling referencing item 13.1, renaming the new Northeast Austin Middle School. Renaming the new Northeast Austin Middle School. I am for the renaming. Thank you.
This is Sharon Bain, the parent of 2 AISD high school students. I'm calling about agenda item 13.1. I'm glad to see the issue of community engagement front and center at the board meeting as part of this naming process. And I know there have been many working diligently at the district and board level to ensure that what happens under the umbrella of community engagement is deep work that truly meets our students, families, educators, and staff where they are. Yet there is still much work to be done here, as is evidenced by the rally of district educators, staff, and supporters scheduled for outside the building just before this meeting begins. When we are at the point that people are taking to the parking lot to make their voices heard, their voices have clearly not yet been heard. There's so many challenges facing the district, and its stakeholders need to be heard and also feel that they have been heard and their views truly considered. That is always true, and it is particularly crucial now when we are seeking to stem an exodus of educators and families. Please continue to deepen this work before it's too late. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Peter Barber. I'm calling about agenda item 13.1 in support of naming a new middle school after Dr. General Marshall. I co-founded Save Muni in 2008, and General was not only there from the start, but was instrumental in the saving of our course to this point. His direct efforts led us to recognition from Muni in the National Register of Historic Places, National Trust for Historic Preservation, and his membership in the Texas State Hall of Fame, as well as the Texas State Historical Marker. He went to school in Austin, got a college degree from Morehouse College, master's from UT, a PhD from Houston. First and foremost, he was an educator. He taught high school in Georgia and later taught mathematics at Houston-Tillotson. He is most deserving of this honor, and I ask that people support Dr. General Marshall for the naming of a new middle school in Austin. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning. My name is Keith Gray. I'm calling in reference of the naming of the school after Brother General Marshall. I am a constituent in the Austin ISD area. I would like to put my name in and provide support for the naming of that school after Dr. General Garwood Marshall in reference to his educational exploits throughout his life, his support for the community, and all that he has done in the community. I think that the naming of the school would honor and highlight his accomplishments, additionally give rise and a light to those who can follow in his footsteps. Thank you.
Hello, this is Delia Norman Jones, the granddaughter of G.W. Norman Elementary, who was named after him. And I am in support of item number 13.1, naming the school after Dr. General Marshall in Northeast Austin, and that's item 13.1, Dr. General Marshall. I believe that the new school should be named after him. Thank you.
This is Opal Irving. I'm a retired teacher, and I'm calling in support of General Marshall. I would so much like for him, the school to be named after him. I think he's deserving of that. It would be an honor for him. He was a teacher. He was a mathematician. He helped children. He even worked in the summertime to help children with their math. And he's just a good person, somebody that they would want their son to be like. He's professional always. He's gentle and kind. And so I just would like to see that school named after him.
Hello, my name is Barry McBride, and I'm responding to item number 13.1, the naming process for the new middle school in Northeast Austin. And I'm recommending that the new middle school be named for Dr. General Marshall. Dr. Marshall is was a very important resident of Austin, Texas, an educator and someone who is highly respected. And like Dr. Marshall, I am a golfer, and I was a caddy as well. And I do know that the golf courses that we were allowed to play on and caddy on in East Austin had a lot to do with the legacy left by Dr. Marshall. Even more importantly, Dr. Marshall was an enormously important educator in Austin, and for a number of years, a professor at Houston-Tillotson University. He is highly respected for the contributions that he made. His entire family is a very important asset to the Austin, Texas community. And for those reasons and even more, I highly recommend that the new middle school be named for Dr. General Marshall. Thank you very much.
Yes, my name is Ruth Washington, and my connection with Austin Independent School District is a retired teacher, but I'm calling in reference to item 13.1, naming process for new middle school in Northeast Austin, named after our late trustee chair, Dr. General Marshall. I am in all favor of that. I've been knowing Dr. Marshall for at least 25 plus years in the community and also in my church community. And I would definitely be honored to see a school named after him because he has been a great support to the community. Also a professor over at the University of Texas in the math department. And he has always been such a gentle person when he was alive. And I really admire him. And I think that he would be honored to have a school named after him, especially here in Austin because he was born and raised here in Austin, Texas, attended the public schools here in Austin, Texas. So I am, again.
Good evening, Dr. Elizalde and the Board of Trustees. My name is Megan Vasquez, and I am the proud PE teacher at Becker Elementary and a member of Education Austin. I am calling about agenda item 10.2. This item is about the purchase of instructional materials for health education that is estimated to cost between $1.5 to $1.7 million. With the new essential areas redesign, will elementary health be taught by classroom teachers or by PE teachers? Who are the elementary teachers who will be responsible for the curriculum's implementation? Who will be required to attend PD to learn how to use this new curriculum? According to the agenda minutes, the committee didn't recommend any adoption of new PE materials due to our AISD current PE curriculum being exemplary. PE health and classroom teacher health does have some overlap, but there are many topics that classroom teachers cover in their homerooms that we don't. One example being human sexuality. I would appreciate some clarification on these questions. Thank you so much for your time and urgent attention to this matter.
Yes, my name is Crystal Woodard, and I am calling to speak on item 13.1, the naming process of the new middle school in Northeast Austin. I'm calling in support of naming the school after Dr. General Marshall. I would be so proud to have a school here in Austin named after Dr. Marshall. The gentleman is a dedicated member of his church. He works hard. He's raised beautiful children, and he's the nicest man you'd ever want to meet. He's a wise gentleman. And my relationship to AISD, I have a grandson that will be going to middle school next year. I just think that the school needs to have a name like Dr. Marshall's to represent who he was and who he was in the community and who he was in the church in that community. And when children have to explain who the school is named after, they will have a long list of accolades to speak on about him. And I would be so proud to see a school named after Dr. Marshall. And I think that Austin would be proud to have a school named after him as well. And he represents.
Hello, my name is Mosby. I'm a brother of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated there in Austin, the alumni chapter. And I'm just calling on behalf of Dr. Brother General Marshall. I can't say that I knew him personally, but I have heard a lot of the absolutely amazing things that he did. And so I just wanted to call to offer my personal endorsement for the naming of the school in his honor. Some of those things being the fact that he was a pillar in the community. One of the things that he did was he taught teachers, helped teachers to get certified to teach. And that in itself is huge, teaching them how to teach others, teaching them how to help others, and how that translates into community awareness, how that translates into community education. I've also heard about the program that he did, the Austin Pre-Freshman Engineering Program, to help the STEM students before college. Just so many things that he did. Teaching at Houston-Tillotson. On a personal note, he was our personal chapter photographer, where he helped document a lot of the events that we do to document our.
Hi, my name is Cuitlahuac Guerra. I'm the parent of two Austin ISD students. I'm calling about agenda item 7.1, where it says the criteria, the graduates identified as economically disadvantaged who meet the criteria for the CCMR outcome bonus will increase from 30% to XX%. And I'm just confused what this XX is. This is the superintendent scorecard, so I'm assuming the XX should be a number, but it's not a number. So are y'all voting on XX tonight? Are y'all approving a scorecard that doesn't have an actual numerical goal on it? So that's one question. The other question being, do other scorecard goals also have XX for goals? The superintendent scorecard is something I called about months ago, so I thought y'all would be done with it, and I just don't understand why there isn't a set numerical goal for the scorecard yet, and we're seeing XX% on the agenda when we're this close to graduation and STAR exams. I feel like the goals should already be set by now, and we shouldn't be waiting till after graduation and after STAR exams happen to set the goals, because we're just moving the goalposts to fit whatever definition we want. So can y'all please set the goals already and get rid of these XXs and put some actual numbers in the scorecard? Thanks. Bye.
Hello, I am calling in regards to item 13.1, the naming process for new middle school, for the new middle school in Northeast Austin. My name is Terry P. Mitchell with the Black Leaders Collective. I am in favor of changing the name to Dr. General Marshall Middle School. Dr. General Marshall is a well-known influencer of Austin. He was born and raised here, and went to school. Is a product of AISD, and then went on to graduate from UT and the University of Houston. He also taught at HT, and is well revered in the Black community. And in the church, Ebenezer Baptist. I believe that naming him is well overdue, and will speak to just how dedicated AISD is to honoring those that have come before us in our BIPOC communities. Again, I'm in favor of the name change being Dr. General Marshall Middle School.
I am Dr. Velma McCrae. I was a student of Dr. General Marshall, and I support the naming of the school, item 13.1.
Hi, I'm speaking on item 13.1, naming process for new middle school in Northeast Austin. My name is Carl Spencer. I'm the president of the 100 Black Men, and I feel that Dr. Marshall's name should be on the new middle school because of all of his work, not only with Ebenezer Church, but as an Alpha member, as a member of the Urban League. He's an HT alum, a UT alum, an Austin ISD grad of Anderson High. He's also doing work with the Muni Conservancy as a member. He's a community member, and frankly, he's done a lot of great work in our Austin community, and we should name the school after him. So with that being said, I would love for Dr. Marshall's name to be on the new middle school in Northeast Austin.
Item 13.1. I am Joanne Foster Lewis, a proud original L.C. Anderson Yellow Jacket, a retired AISD educator, and a lifelong member of Ebenezer Third Baptist Church. It is my honor to recommend Dr. General Marshall as a candidate for the naming of this new school. He exemplified excellence in all that he did and accomplished throughout his lifetime, leaving a rich legacy. It was his love of education, his courage, leadership, and grace. He was a native Austinite and a highly honored product of AISD, a proud graduate of the distinguished HBCU Morehouse College. He received a master's degree in math from the University of Texas and a PhD in math from the University of Houston. At Ebenezer Baptist Church, he served as the chairman of the trustee board for many years until his death. He was a family man, married to Dr. LaVon Marshall, and together they raised and educated 3 successful adult children with loving grandchildren. This is what...
My name is Dr. Audrey L. Mackey. I am a citizen of Austin and a supporter of Austin Independent School District initiatives. I'm looking at item number 13.1. The naming process for a middle school in Northeast Austin. Speaking in favor of bestowing this honor on Dr. General G. Marshall, I think that this would be a notable way of recognizing him for his dedication to community service, giving recognition to his dedicated career in higher education, and also bestowing recognition on him for his leadership in organizing and advancing the Austin Pre-Freshman Engineering Program in conjunction with the Austin Independent School District. Again, speaking in behalf of and in support of the campaign to honor Dr. General G. Marshall with the naming the Northeast Austin Middle School in his honor. Thank you. And
this is to replace my previous message. I'm sorry, I lost my breath. This is Scott Sayers and Ben Crenshaw, and it's our honor to represent the Board of Directors of the Muni Conservancy in unanimous support for the naming of the new middle school in Northeast Austin in memory of our friend General Marshall. Dr. General Marshall was an iconic figure in Austin history for so many reasons. His role as a historian, and especially as a participant for the peaceful desegregation of Lyons Municipal Golf Course, is legendary to those of us who knew him and heard firsthand the stories he told of Austin in the 40s and 50s. Further, his mentoring and teaching of students at Houston-Tillotson University was important to many of Austin's future leaders and businessmen and women. And those things just began to touch on the influence he spread during his lifetime. He was loved by members of the Ebenezer Baptist Church, the 100 Black Men of Austin, the Austin Urban League, and his beloved Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. As a father and husband, he left another special legacy. We can think of no better example for the goodness and strength of character of the Austin community than the late Dr. General Marshall, and we urge your consideration that would truly...
Good afternoon. My name is Leon Hullum, and I'm a longtime Austin resident. My call today is in support of renaming or naming a school, middle school, for General Marshall. He is and was a legend of East Austin and for all of Austin. He exemplified citizenship, and especially among the African American community. He was an avid golfer, outstanding professor, outstanding mentor, and supported the Austin, Texas, the University of Texas, Houston-Tillotson College, and Houston-Tillotson University, I should say. And he is very, very worthy of having the middle school named after him.
Hi, my name is Nancy Thompson. I am a native Austinite. I'm calling on the subject of the renaming of a new middle school. I propose that you name the school after Dr. General Marshall. Dr. Marshall was a native Austinite. He attended AISD schools. He was a graduate of Morehouse, and his master's from the University of Texas and his PhD from the University of Houston. He was a professor for many years at Houston-Tillotson University, the oldest higher education in Austin. He is a longtime member of Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he served diligently. He is a community figure. He is a Lyons Municipal Golf Course. He loved to play golf. He served his community here in Austin. He was a photographer, and I think it would be justice to name the new middle school after Dr. General Marshall.
Hello, my name is G. Christopher Cook-Kelvin. I'm a community member. I'm calling to support the General Marshall for his name to be named for a new school. He's been a community member, an advocate, and an educator for a long time with a deep connection to the Austin community. It would be a tremendous honor to name a school after him.
Speaking on item 13.1, naming process for new middle school in Northeast Austin. My name is Chastity Hatley, Houston-Tillotson University alumni. standing in full support of Dr. Marshall for all of his contributions and everything he has done for Austin.
I am speaking to item 13.1, naming process for new middle school in Northeast Austin. My name is Pamela Reed, and I am an HT employee and alum. Dr. Marshall was a pillar of integrity. He was a staunch supporter of the Austin community, always endeavoring in opportunities to give back and uplift others. I have great admiration for him as an educator. As a graduate of both HT and UT, he chose to remain in Austin and help further the education of young minds at Houston-Tillotson University and beyond. And in return, Dr. Marshall received the love and respect of students, faculty, and staff. He was an active member of Ebenezer Baptist Church, and the reach of his Christian generosity extended far beyond the church walls. Dr. Marshall exemplified great leadership, always educating, whether it was through his personal interactions, community work, or faith involvement. It is because of this, his positive legacy, that I believe the new middle school should bear his name.
I'm calling to recommend the name of Dr. Marshall, Dr. General Marshall, for the naming of the new school, middle school that will be built. He is a native of Austin and a graduate of the original L.C. Anderson High School. He also is a graduate of the Morehouse College, received his degrees, master degrees from the University of Texas, and he has a degree also, doctorate degree from the University of Houston. He spent many, many years teaching at Houston-Tillotson, and with him being an Austinite, graduate of the schools in Austin, and a very active person in the community, as well as a trustee at the Ebenezer Baptist Church for over 25 years.
Good evening, Dr. Elizalde and Austin ISD Board of Trustees. I am calling about agenda item 10.1. My name is Danny Coons. I am an elementary school PE teacher, and I was also a member of APER's Essential Areas Redesign Committee, the committee that proposed the SHAC supported plan that would involve a 30-to-1 ratio in PE classes in addition to a wellness teacher to cover all health TEKs. I was honored to ask to be a part of the committee that reviewed the Quaver Ed health curriculum that you are being asked to adopt tonight. I want to start by saying that Quaver Ed is a fantastic program, and I am excited that our classroom health lessons will be getting a much-needed upgrade. When I was reviewing the curriculum, I was told that it would be for classroom teachers to use to teach their health TEKs. However, in the last board information session, Dr. Elizalde made it seem like classroom teachers would no longer be teaching WOW time or health during their instructional time. Because the district did accept the APER proposed 30-to-1 ratio, I would like clarification as to whether they are also accepting the proposed wellness teacher position, or if classroom teachers will be implementing the Quaver Ed curriculum. I hope the superintendent and the Board of Trustees will be able to sufficiently answer that question and make an appropriate decision regarding the new health curriculum. Thank you all for your service to our community.
Hi, my name is Becca, and I am an elementary PE teacher in AISD. I'm calling about action item 10.1. Thank you, Dr. Elizalde and Board of Trustees, for working to support the health and well-being of our Austin ISD students. I'm curious about the plans of implementing this new health curriculum at the elementary level, and especially if it relates to the AISD Essential Areas Redesign Plan for next year. Who will be trained and utilizing the adopted curriculum to teach our students those important health TEKs? It would be great to have clarity if the responsibility to cover the health TEKs remains the responsibility of the classroom teachers or has been quietly shuffled to the newly formed physical education departments on each campus. We in PE have plenty to cover with just the physical education TEKs, and especially without a clear definition of the PETAs, not sure how we will introduce all of that content. Are PETAs expected to teach students or just support the learning from the PE teachers? Did Dr. Elizalde mention in the last info session that health is now the responsibility of the PE department? And if so, the PETAs expected to become health teachers instead of supporting instruction of the teacher? Please define the roles, responsibilities, and expectations carefully to support all students learn how to have a healthy and active life.
My name is Cuitlava Guerra, and I'm calling about agenda item 13.1, the new name for the Northeast Middle School. Why don't y'all name it Bertha Sadler Means Young Women's Leadership Academy? If not permanently, then at least temporarily while they get a new building. Back in 2019, y'all tried to close Sadler Means, and the community stopped you because it serves the young women here in the Northeast. But their building is old and dilapidated. It's certainly not a 21st century learning environment. And you gave Ann Richards a new building, so now it's time to give Bertha Sadler Means a new building. So why don't y'all do this? Why don't y'all put Bertha Sadler Means into the new Northeast Middle School that's being opened, at least temporarily, and then use bond money from 2022 to rebuild the old Pierce campus into a new modernized 21st century learning center that fits the enrollment for Sadler Means. Then when that new build is finished, Sadler Means can move back into their new building, and you can open the new Northeast Middle School as a mixed gender option for all the elementary schools up here, Overton, Barbara Jordan, Wynn, Pecan Springs, Andrews, Norman Sims. I think that would be a great idea. So name the middle school temporarily Bertha Sadler Means. Thank you.
This concludes the recorded messages. We're now going to move to in-person testimony. In order to provide as many opportunities for input as possible within a limited time period at this meeting, each speaker will be allotted 1 minute. No substitutions or yielding of time to others is permitted. Callers who signed up to speak in person are welcome to come up to the microphone when their name is called. As you come to the microphone, there's a device that will light up as you move through your 1 minute of allotted time. And when the buzzer sounds, please make a final thought in one sentence. Again, we ask that whether you come to give a complaint or praise, that you reference the staff member by position or by abbreviated last name. We ask that all audience members, whether speaking or not, please show respect for others at all times. The Office of Translation Interpretation provides a Spanish language translator for audience members who need assistance when addressing trustees or need assistance understanding comments made to trustees during public testimony. If translation is required, the speaker will be given twice the allotted time. If you need this service during other portions of the meeting, please speak with the interpreter, Ms. Jennifer Williams. Spanish translator and interpreter will repeat portions of this message in Spanish.
Ahora pasaremos al testimonio en persona para poder proporcionar un mayor número de oportunidades para compartir sus comentarios dentro del periodo permitido durante esta junta. Cada orador cuenta con 1 minuto. No se permite ceder o sustituir a otras personas. Las personas que se inscribieron para hablar en persona serán bienvenidas a que pasen al micrófono cuando se les llame. Cuando se acerquen al micrófono, habrá un aparato que enciende una luz conforme realizan su discurso de 1 minuto. Cuando suene el timbre, por favor, digan la última frase que desean compartir. Nuevamente, se les pide, si tienen ya sea alguna queja o elogio, que se refieran al miembro del personal de acuerdo a su puesto o mediante abreviatura de su apellido. Les pedimos que todos los miembros del público, tanto a los que pasaron a hablar y a los que no, que por favor muestren respeto en todo momento. La Oficina de Traducción e Interpretación nos proporciona un intérprete al idioma español para los miembros del público que necesiten ayuda para dirigirse a la mesa directiva o que necesiten ayuda para entender los comentarios realizados durante el testimonio público a la mesa directiva. Si necesitan interpretación, se le dará al orador doble de tiempo. Si necesitan este servicio durante otras porciones de la Junta, por favor, hablen con la intérprete Jennifer Williams, servidora.
Thank you, Jennifer. And you may want to interpret. I have just one other comment before I invite the speakers. First of all, this is now the second public meeting that we've had in person. The first one we had 1 speaker the last time. This time we have 14 speakers in person. So we're really glad that you're here. But because we haven't done this for 2 years, I just want to remind you.
Quiero recordarles que esta es solamente la segunda junta que tenemos en persona. En la primera junta solo tuvimos un intérprete. En esta junta tenemos, un solo orador. En esta junta tenemos 14 personas que van a hablar. Y quiero recordarles que
that the state law requires that public testimony tonight be on the items that are on the agenda today for action. this board has also opened up 60 more minutes in public testimony during our board information sessions, and obviously you can always do the trustees@austinisd.org.
Que la ley estatal requiere de que nosotros hablemos de los asuntos de la agenda que se van a discutir esta noche. Esta mesa directiva también ha permitido que se abran 60 segundos para hablar del testimonio público y de los comentarios públicos hoy.
Y con eso quiero darles la bienvenida también a nuestra comunidad. And with that, I just want to welcome our community back to these public meetings in person. Tonight's speakers, the first one is Alex Stringer.
Hi, Ms. Elizalde. This is about item 10.1 and the health of our students. You know, we got to address the health of these kids, you know. And there's no greater public health crisis than racism. You know, we live in an extremely racist country, and our children need an education that reflects that. And that's why we need to remove George Washington and Thomas Jefferson from our school curriculum immediately. You know, these people, they owned slaves. They didn't want to pay taxes. Do you think they would have worn a mask during COVID? Do you think they would have gotten vaccinated? Do you think they would have listened to esteemed medical experts like Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci? No. These right-wing extremists would have been storming the Capitol with those QAnons on January 6th. And our students, they deserve better. They need progressive role models, people like Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, Fidel Castro, and Joseph Stalin. These revolutionaries, they did so much to reduce the carbon footprint of their own citizens. And while climate change, that's a public health crisis too.
Point of order, please.
Mr. Stringer.
Listen, guys, we got to end racism. We got to build back better. We have a new world order to create. You're doing a great job of facilitating that. We need to cancel George Washington.
Thank you for your
comments. Do it for the kids. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Trustee Singh?
Was that related to an agenda item?
It was not. So just as a reminder, we need to make sure that we're talking about items on the agenda during comments. And so, thank you, Secretary Singh. Albert Marino is the next speaker.
Thank you, Board. My name is Albert Marino. I'm a teacher at Ann Richards. I'm also an Education Austin member. I wanted to thank y'all for bringing up issues about the lack of resources in our classroom, but really what we're lacking is teachers. There's not enough teachers in the classroom. There are not enough TAs in the classroom. Everybody's being worked to death. Visit some schools. Look at the morale of the staff. It's low. It's low. And at the same time, you're giving us a raise that's a quarter of the inflation. And then who exactly tweaked the PPFT? I got the worst rating of my career. I was nominated Teacher of the Year. I got a efficient rating. Okay, somebody did that. You have intelligent people working at the district that are clever enough to screw us on our raises. Please fix the budget. I understand there's recapture. I understand COVID. I understand inflation. But the schools are falling apart, and it doesn't feel like anybody cares. It doesn't feel like it's understood what we're feeling. So just to wrap it up, the majority of you were not here when this new administration was elected. We're in a crisis. We need you right now to take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marino. Eva Marroquin.
Mi nombre es Eva Marroquín, soy madre de un estudiante de la Escuela Navarro.
My name is Eva Marroquin. I'm a mother from a student of Navarro.
Y soy promotora de salud y soy consejera dentro de las prisiones.
And I'm a promoter of health and a counselor inside of prisons.
Quisiera hablar sobre college y career ready military.
I would like to talk about military and college career readiness.
La verdad necesitamos ayuda y soporte.
We truly need help and support.
Fondos que respalden a los maestros.
We need funding that back teachers.
con las becas para que nuestros estudiantes tengan una salud mental saludable.
With scholarships so that our students have healthy mental health.
Sabemos que en las prisiones hay muchos jóvenes que no tuvieron ayuda mental.
We know that in prisons there are a lot of youth that did not have mental health help.
Y yo les pido,
and I ask you,
en nombre de todos los jóvenes,
on behalf of every youth,
que apoyemos a la salud mental de los jóvenes porque son el futuro del mañana.
That we support the mental health of every young person because they're the future of tomorrow.
Porque si no los apoyamos, ellos acabarán en prisiones.
Because if we do not support them, they're going to end up in prison.
Pandillas.
In gangs.
Maleantes robando en nuestras casas.
They're going to be thugs stealing in our homes.
Es importante poner atención a la salud mental de nuestros hijos.
It is very important to pay attention to the mental health of our children.
Ustedes tienen hijos.
You have children too.
Y sabemos que ellos sufren porque no están con ustedes todo el tiempo.
And we know that they suffer as well because they're not with you all the time.
Entonces necesitamos escuchar a nuestros hijos y el apoyo de la salud mental.
So we need to listen to our children and support mental health.
Necesitamos los fondos para apoyar a los mentores.
We need funding to support mentors.
Por favor, apoyen.
Please support.
Última pregunta.
Last question.
¿Qué van a hacer con los problemas de salud mental?
What are you going to do with the mental health issues?
Gracias. Harold Flinoy.
Good evening, Board. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Mike, please. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak on behalf of naming the middle school after Dr. General Marshall. As a former student of Houston-Tillotson University and one of his students, I wholeheartedly ask and urge you to really consider this and make this happen. Dr. Marshall is the main reason why I graduated from college, because in sitting under him and understanding what I could do with my brain, not just with my body as an athlete. He spoke to me, he talked to me when others wouldn't, and he guided me not only throughout my college career, but into my own professional life. He remained a mentor to me even until his death. I'm thankful for this opportunity, but even more so, all the Houston-Tillotson graduates that came through that class or students that came through those classes would stand with me and admit how much he's meant to us. And I believe you would do yourself a service by doing that and giving that school his name. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is the Honorable Jeffrey Trevelyan.
So if I get translation services, I can get another minute? Okay. All right. Well, I just
I'd be happy to translate for you.
I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Dr. General Marshall. He truly was a special person. In one of the groups that I'm a member of, 100 Black Men, our motto is, what they see is what they will be. And he was a wonderful role model within this community. Came from a very important community institution, L.C. Anderson, was a Morehouse man. But after leaving Morehouse, he came home to do well here. He did extraordinary things at Houston-Tillotson, not just for the students that were there, but created a program called OSPREP. He took his summers and his evenings to help young people understand math and become mathematicians and scientists themselves. If I can quickly say, Ebenezer was a very important place. He was a member there. L.L. Campbell purchased in 1905 300 acres that now ACC sits on. He's a part of that tapestry, a part of that community. You do the community honor by allowing it to understand who its heroes are. He truly was a hero in this community. I know that you all have a lot of difficult decisions, and we love to work with you. It is clear that you care about our community. but this might be one of the easiest decisions we can give you to make. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I'm a teacher's kid. We have to continue to do the best that we can for all the folks that rely on us. Education truly is the key to mobility. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Irma, is it Castañón? Yeah. Yeah. They didn't put the ñ on here.
Good evening. My name is Irma Castañón, even though it's Castañón. I'm here speaking on behalf of college and career preparation. In the words of poet Percy Shelley, the rich have become richer and the poor have become poor. The future of our children all lies with you, and you letting us slip to your hands. The budget cuts on fundamental programs will hurt our students. You said that community and teacher voices matter, and yet we are keeping losing great teachers, counselors, assistant principals, and principals. With every decision made, families, students, teachers will leave from our schools, and children will suffer. And again, our Hispanic and Black communities, we are the most affected by your decisions. Our communities are fighting for equity and investing in our schools. Where is your promise of investing in our future, our children? Where is the equity? I hope this message doesn't fall on deaf ears, and our title students matter. It's just as much as any other student in the district. Our families matter, our teachers matter, we matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I was reminded, since we haven't done this almost for 2 years now, that I should be calling out 3 names so that folks are ready to speak. So I'm going to start doing that. So I'm sorry about that. Luis Malfaro, Rosa Patiño, and Alejandra Martinez.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Elizalde, I'm Luis Malfaro. I'm the Associate Executive Director of Austin Voices for Education and Youth, speaking on your topic of college and career readiness. I'm going to take my minute to ask questions. Why were all the early college, high school counselors, coordinators eliminated last year? Who's going to take responsibility for this mental health service fiasco that's been written about extensively now in the newspaper, where we had a 90% drop in kids served with mental health services? How does that get anybody ready for college and career during what has been the toughest 2 years of most people's lives? Why is the administration so fixated on a balanced budget this year? Why does keeping $200 million in a fund balance take priority over the needs of kids and families? And don't tell me it's the bond rating. Why are we losing our principals in Northeast Austin at high immigrant schools like Hart, Wooldridge, Wooten, Barrington, and Webb? Speaking of Webb, let me invite you all to come to our Unity Walk tomorrow.
Thank you.
Our Unity Walk, which is in its 17th year, where we will walk from Webb to Northeast for Kids Fest. And you will get to hear the Webb Mariachi and the Webb Choir for the last time, because they're not going to have mariachi next year because they're cutting a band director, and they're not going to have choir. So we have to have the CFO stop telling parents, oh no, we're only cutting downtown, because it's not true.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rosa Patino, and I'm a PTA president of Warner Middle School, and also I'm a part of a child on elementary school, middle school, and high school. And my point is talking about better salaries for the drivers, for the teachers, for the counselors, for all the people who work at school. I think it's very important having in our minds to people who clean the restroom, who clean the table, who cook for our kids. That's really important. I also want to say about the I'm sorry, voy a hacer en español. Quiero hablar para los recursos sobre el arte. Para mí es muy importante lo del mariachi. Eso es algo que no se debe quitar. Los deportes, la danza, todo lo que tenga que ver con arte. Our kids matter, but also our voices matter too. Our parents, 100%. Thank you.
I also want to speak about the art resources, mariachi, sports, dances. All those activities should matter as well.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alejandra. Well, oh, sorry, Alejandra. Sorry.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Alejandra Martínez. Tengo un hijo en Dobie Middle School. Será mi primer hijo en ir al colegio porque lo voy a lograr. Lo vamos a lograr.
Good evening. My name is Alejandra Martinez. I have a son in Doble Middle School. It'll be my first child to go to college because we are going to do it. We're going to accomplish it.
Estoy luchando por él para tener un mejor futuro, para que no sea como nosotros, que no tuvimos estudio, que tenemos que lavar baños, limpieza.
I'm fighting for him so that he could have a better future, and he's not like us, like we have to clean bathrooms.
Pero con estos cambios que está teniendo el distrito, tengo mucha preocupación que esto lo podamos lograr.
But with these changes that the district is having, I'm very worried that I'm going to be able to accomplish this.
Retiro de personal, directores, recortes de personal, de recursos, de salud mental.
Cutting principals, personnel, mental health.
Esto me preocupa bastante porque si no vamos a tener todo esto, ¿cómo vamos a ayudar a nuestros estudiantes, a nuestros hijos?
And this worries me a lot because if we don't have all of this, how are we going to help our students and our kids?
Tengo también un niño de educación especial, espero que esto también no vaya a afectar en un futuro, que quiten todos los recursos. Él ahorita no tiene un asistente que antes siempre le ayudaba.
I also have a child in special education. I hope that the resources are not cut in the future. He used to have an assistant that always helped him.
Y vuelvo a lo mismo, es mi preocupación con todo recorte de personal. Espero que nos pongan otro también asistente principal.
And this is, I say it again, this is my worry. With all this cutting of personnel, I hope that we also get a new AP.
Porque ahora mismo en Dobie Middle School nos quedamos con 2 asistentes principales para todos los estudiantes y eso va a ser muy, muy difícil que tengan ese rendimiento escolar que todos necesitamos, por favor. Gracias.
And because right now at Dobie Middle School, we only have 2 APs, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get all those resources that we really, really need. Thank you.
Gracias. The next speakers, and I'm still learning how to do this again. So Tracy Dunlap, Grace Hopkins, and then I'll just name the others just so that you all know. Katie Allison, Ken Zarafis, I'm sorry, Natalie Wilson. So Tracy.
My name is Tracy Dunlap. I'm a teacher at Maplewood and a proud member of Education Austin. I'm here to talk about Agenda Item 12.4 and how ESSER funds will be used. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the median family income in Austin is now $110,000. Most AISD employees earn less than half that amount. By Austin standards, we are now scraping by on poverty wages. With 8% inflation and the cost of housing rapidly rising, the situation has become dire for many of us. Other districts, where the cost of living is lower, have announced more significant pay raises. AISD may achieve a balanced budget, but at what cost? We cannot afford to continue to lose the talent and experience leaving our district for better opportunities. ESSER funds can and should be used for employee compensation and retention. In fact, the U.S. Department of Education has made this recommendation to districts. The people dedicated to educating and supporting our students are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. We deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and we deserve a livable wage. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gracie Hopkins, and I'm a third grade dual language teacher at Perez Elementary and a proud member of Education Austin. I'm speaking about agenda item 10.1, which is talking about the health curriculum, and I'm speaking in support of the At What Cost campaign. I am a classroom teacher, and I'm curious who will be teaching these health curriculum that will be adopted. We're prepared to spend $1.5 million on PE curriculum. Investment in PE is worth it, and investment in PE teachers is even more worth it. I wouldn't spend $1.5 or $1.7 million until there's some more transparency about this process. PE teachers have had a lot of questions about how they're being involved in the decision-making process of the best practices for implementation of PE in our elementary schools. The essential areas redesign left our elementary schools in immense anxiety, stress, and chaos. Some even decided to leave the district because of that disrespect. Next time and every time, I'd employ our district and our administration to bring workers to the table next time we get a smart idea, and ask the highly competent rank and file employees to design structures with the best meet the needs of our students, because we do the work and we know what it takes. If we continue with top-down decisions, I'll ask at what cost. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Katie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Katie Allison, excuse me, and I'm a third grade teacher at Josephine Houston Elementary. I'm a proud member of Education Austin, and I'm here tonight to speak in reference to agenda item 12.4, the district's finance update. I'm here to express my solidarity with classified employees across the district and to demand that the school board enact demand number 1 in our union's current campaign. We demand the district provide a $6.50 pay raise for all classified employees, bringing the minimum pay up to $20 an hour. I cannot imagine my past 3 years at J. Houston without the support of our classified employees, many of whom have known my students for much longer than I have. Their relationships with our kids and specialized skills are essential to my campus community as well as across the district. It's well past time for AISD to properly compensate classified employees, especially as the cost of living in Austin continues to rise. AISD can continue to inadequately pay classified employees, but at what cost? Thank you for listening.
Ken, you're next. And then Natalie Wilson.
Good evening, Board Superintendent. My name is Ken Zarapis, President of Education Austin. Speaking on 12.4 financial update and ESSER funds. The Department of Education has assigned ESSER dollars to keep valued employees and to stabilize the workforce, which is part of what it should be contributed to. When we've seen our initial evaluation about $2.7, almost $3 million in upper administration jobs, positions, and growth, yet we're cutting away at the bottom, it makes us question whether there's an honest willingness to keep people in these positions. We believe that ESSER funds could be used for drivers, could be used for reading academies. There are things that could be done, and when we hear trust is broken, when the district says we're going to give bus drivers $21 an hour, which sounds great, but take 5 weeks of holiday pay away. The $21 an hour costs $1 million. The holiday pay is $1.1 million. The district is, in essence, taking money out of drivers' pockets. It's not right. You need to know it. Board, we're going to hold you accountable. This cannot be accepted. It's the kind of shenanigans shell game that will undermine this administration being successful. Please, I'm begging you, bus drivers deserve $21 an hour, and they deserve their holiday pay, which has been 50 years in its making and its development, and they need to stay.
Thank you. Natalie Wilson. Natalie Wilson. Oh, she's out. I'll just ask one more time. Natalie Wilson. Okay. Right. This concludes public testimony. Trustees, are there any questions or clarifications? Oh, let me just, I'm going to recognize Trustee Foster first before we take a look.
So there were lots of public comments, and this is, I guess, a point of privilege in that this is not strictly a clarifying question, but there is a point of clarification. Two things. The first thing is that I was mentioned early on by one of our community members saying that they'd like to follow my recommendation with regards to naming the school after the late Dr. General Marshall. And I want to be 100% clear that to the extent that I'm involved, it's as a vessel, and that this name was lifted up to me, and that I reached out to a couple of community members and said, what do you think? And then I think we learned what people think. Knowing what was going on this evening with community members signaling that they were going to be coming out and they were going to be calling, I wanted to lift up again, and y'all get the memo of who this gentleman was, but I do want to rehearse and name again that we are talking about a person who was a Clarksville native, not only an Austin native, but also was born in 1936 in the Freedmen community of Clarksville, which is one of our most important historic communities that basically no longer looks the way it did at that time. He was someone who was actually on Lyons Municipal Golf Course very, very early on, 9-year-old as a caddy, but also what old school Freedmen community, Clarksville community members would tell you about is the group of youngsters who would sneak onto the course at night and golf basically in the dark, and he was among those folks. But later on, he was among the first to integrate or to facilitate the integration of this golf course. He went to Keeling Junior High. He met Miss LaVon Jackson at Keeling Junior High. Later on, he was that math tutor. I think he found a way to get close to Miss LaVon by helping out with math. They ended up living a lifetime together. Miss LaVon Marshall is actually here tonight. Dr. Mays, who actually also had a personal relationship with Dr. General Marshall, I did not know that, but I learned that. He has some yellow roses for Miss Marshall.
So these flowers are pretty significant. I'm pretty sure you noticed them, but the yellow rose is a big deal for the wives of Alvin being the fraternity of which I'm a part of.
For those who do not know, our own Dr. Mays actually has, sir, what is your relationship with Houston Tillotson?
I'm a graduate of Houston Tillotson. I'm a proud graduate of Houston Tillotson. Yes.
So, Dr. General Marshall went on to Anderson High. As you heard, he went to Morehouse. He was a school teacher, high school teacher and football coach in Georgia for several years before coming back to Houston Tillotson as a college-level instructor. While he was a college-level instructor, he received a master's degree from the University of Texas at Austin in mathematics in 1966. So he is one of our precursors. He's one of our oldest African-American graduates of our University of Texas, where I am a chair of the Black Studies program. He then went on, while raising a bunch of little ones, while teaching at HT, he also completed a PhD at the University of Houston in 1976. What you all hear and what I am so convicted of is that our naming matters. And that if there is any opportunity to lift up our homegrown folk, our folk that represent the best of who we can be for all of our children, then I will be 100% for that. We have as a consent item tonight, item 13.1. So it's one of our items, and community should always know our consent items are important, and they can kind of come and go without naming or notice, but they are particularly important. I am particularly proud of this particular consent agenda item, as it is basically lifted up. It is to start the naming process, but I think community has spoken loud and clear as to maybe where we should go. So as part of the naming process, an individual board member may submit a name for consideration, and in honor of Ms. LaVon Marshall, in honor of Lions Municipal Golf Course, in honor of Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, in honor of 100 Black Men of Austin, in honor of Councilmember Ora Houston and Commissioner Jeff Trevelyan, who are here tonight, in honor of Ben Crenshaw, who apparently was a golf buddy with General Marshall, Ebenezer Baptist Church. I'm going to forget a name that was lifted up to me in my study of Dr. General Marshall, but I want to make clear that as we go forward, my suggestion, my advice to the board will be that we lift up and honor all of those folks who called tonight to have the new Northeast Middle School named after Dr. General Marshall. I'm an old school ethnographer and educational anthropologist by training, and so I love to interview people and talk to folk, and I have met so many new people these past several weeks, and so I look forward to getting to know you more as we explore the hows and whys of naming our next great middle school. Mr. President, thank you for the point of privilege.
Thank you, Trustee Foster. Trustees, other questions? Trustee Lugo?
So first of all, thank you to all the folks who provided testimony about General Marshall. It's always good to learn something, and it sounds like he was an amazing man. And thank you so much, Miss Dr. How do I pronounce the? Yeah, Mrs. Dr. I don't know. Thank you, Miss LaVon. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for keeping his memory alive, as well as all the folks whose lives he touched. Okay, so some of the questions that I have. And I should also thank the parents who came out, wherever they are, if they're still in the audience. Gracias por estar aquí y por dar su testimonio. I always love to see parents and students coming out. So let's see. Okay, so I guess I'll ask these as clarifying questions, because my understanding is, although the testimony was regarding consent agenda items, I guess there's some legal lines around what the questions can be. So with that, the $21 versus holiday pay, does the administration have information on like an apples to apples comparison, what that might look like for the average transportation employee?
Yes, we do, and we'll be happy to provide that to you in this. We can put it in the board update. There is, each employee was visited with from Human Capital individually to do the comparison of what the increase would be, and so the amount of money that has been dedicated to the budget to have a pay increase can be changed in a different way. We could pay holiday pay, but we would have to lower the dollar amount because of the amount that is allowed for us to keep a balanced budget. So we can do the comparison. The other reason is when people are comparing apples to apples, none of the surrounding districts include holiday pay. So their hourly wage appears higher than ours. If we don't keep up with that, we will risk losing, of course, employees as well. So we're always wanting to do as much as we can, but we also want to be able to communicate an apples to apples comparison in the market. And so those are the recommendations that are in the proposed budget, and we'll provide you that apples to apples comparison in the board update.
All right, thank you. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the mental health. So la otra pregunta es sobre salud mental. I really appreciate the parents who kind of lifted up that topic. I could talk forever about how important mental health and kind of finding what are those healthier habits to reduce stress. I think most of us didn't learn that growing up. So usualmente nosotros que estamos creciendo en familias latinos o latinas, nosotros no aprendemos cómo manejar el estrés, cómo tener salud mental y estar saludable en esa manera. So I was wondering, does the administration have more information about, like, yes, this particular school year, I would hope that we've all kind of reflected on what went well, what didn't go well, right? Those are usually the questions I'm always asking. But looking ahead to the coming school years, what kinds of plans are in place to address mental health issues for students and staff?
That would need us to put something together to provide to you.
Okay. And then, oh yeah, the other one was about art teachers and kind of art curriculum that's offered. So la otra pregunta es sobre el arte y los clases de arte. Will that information be provided in a future meeting or update?
We will work with the speakers here this evening because there have been no cuts to the mariachi program or the arts at those campuses. So we'll work with them to understand where some of the misinformation is coming from.
Can that information be shared with the board?
Oh, no, of course, but I want to make sure
that it goes directly to them.
Correct,
Okay,
because I want to understand where some of the communication is coming from so that we can clarify where some of that happens. But absolutely.
Okay. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Luo. And just one addition to your clarification, May 5th is our next board information session. We'll be talking about the budget there. We'll have 60 slots for 1 minute for public testimony, which is above and beyond what's required, but it's something that we try to do to make sure there's more community engagement as well. Trustees, any other questions or clarifications? Trustee Singh?
I know you, and I know you can tell when you're being lied to.
Thank you.
Please do something.
So I had a few questions. One was about the health curriculum, and I apologize. I think if you had already asked about that, Trustee Lugo, but are PE teachers going to be teaching that, or is it going to be classroom teachers?
I'll let our Chief Academic Officer
Good evening.
clarify that.
So currently, the health TEKs are taught are integrated into the curriculum and taught by the classroom teachers. When we were talking about expanding PE to be taught every day, we threw out the notion of that maybe one of the days they could teach health. But after much consideration, we know that the classroom setting is a better setting to teach the health standards, and so they will remain taught by the classroom teachers. And that way the teachers can give grades.
Okay, thank you. And I also wanted to ask, there was a question about early college, high school counselors being eliminated, but I know that you've explained to me in the past that you kind of gave every high school a certain number of counselors and they could kind of divvy it up based on the needs. So is that correct?
Yeah, so and I actually think I heard early college coordinators, not counselors. So the counselors themselves is a student to counselor ratio. So based on the number of students at the campus, and what is the guideline that we use?
So at high school level, it's 1 to 350, and then if you look at our counselor ratio, it's weighted for special education. So that's at the high school level.
Okay.
And that gives them the overall bucket of counselors.
Okay.
Then each of the high schools also get what is called college career and military readiness funds, and all of our high schools have purchased a college and career advisor out of their CCMR funds. And then at the early college high schools, that's something a little different. What we did last year when we did the reorganization, we looked at the number of students enrolled in a program, and if a program had over, and I don't remember the exact number in my head, I apologize. If they had over a certain number of students, then they were assigned a coordinator, but those coordinators are in Dr. Fannon's shop and then are assigned out to campuses. And right now we have 3 schools that have over whatever that threshold number was that we set.
Okay, and what does that coordinator do?
They go out and they work with like partnership programs, they work with the pathway, to make sure all the students in the pathways, industry partners, all of that kind of
the
work.
certification, whether they have internships, whether we have mentors,
Okay.
whether we do compression planning to align curriculum to the current classroom, taking students on some of those visits out to, for instance, the either ACC area, out what used to be Lakeline Mall, and get them to be able to visit the semiconductor or the robotics section,
Okay.
the workforce that Trustee Lugo had asked about earlier. Those are some of the field trips that
Okay.
coordinator.
So they coordinate.
They coordinate.
They coordinate.
Okay. So now, and Christine, tell me if I'm veering off too hard, but maybe this is just a request. Okay, so I'll make a future request, which is thinking back to the earlier discussion on the scorecard. I would love to see a connection, like what the relationship is between the campuses that maybe didn't, that are kind of lagging behind on some of the, particularly the industry certification, career stuff, and the coordinator positions, like, is there a relationship there? And is there something that you guys might be thinking about from a staffing perspective that could help pump up the programs and get more students? So I don't know if that's a coordinator or a counselor or, what that position is, but I would definitely be curious to see the relationship between staffing and CTE attainment for our students, or early college attainment for our students. The other question I think you addressed, because I was alarmed about the mariachis at Webb, but I appreciate hearing that perhaps that's not true.
It is not true.
Okay, good. And especially if we're talking about it on Cinco de Mayo next Thursday, we can't cut mariachis on Cinco de Mayo. That would be a sin, I think. So the other question is. So going back to the bus driver thing, I had a great conversation with Leslie Stevens and Dr. Elizalde the other day, and Ed Ramos. So my understanding is that all bus drivers would be getting like a net increase of a couple $1,000s a year, at least. Is that right?
I'm going to let Leslie answer it directly.
Yeah, I can. So right now, bus drivers make the minimum starting wage of a bus driver is $17 an hour, but we have it where we also pay them on holidays when bus routes aren't running. So what we did was we looked at how could we get our bus drivers, because I will tell you, we've had multiple job fairs. We cannot attract bus drivers at $17 an hour because everyone else around us is at $20 an hour. They don't pay attention to the little print that says, oh, we'll pay you on these holidays, because they're looking at where can I make the most money. And so we worked with the budget, and right now for bus drivers, we do spend, in 2021, we spent $1.1 million on holiday pay. This year we are at $938,000 on holiday pay. So we ran the calculations and we went to $21 an hour for bus drivers, and that is costing, without holiday pay, it's costing an additional $1 million. But if we didn't take away holiday pay, the ticket line item of that would be over $2.5 million. Am I making, so when we went to $21 an hour, we saved $1.1 million in holiday pay. We added $1 million to it. And so that is actually a truer picture of the cost of $21 an hour. If we had to go back, though, and calculate all those holiday days at $21 an hour, you're probably looking more at a price tag of $2.5 to $3 million.
Okay, so.
But, so what we did was the compensation department went out to each of the bus barns. They did the presentation, and then they met individually with each bus driver. And what was asked for is in the board update, you're going to get an example of a bus driver at $17 an hour right now, what that pay is for this year in accumulation to next year. Then we took a middle bus driver, meaning you now have 10 years, and then we're going to take one that has 20 years. And in each case, there was an increase in pay from this year to next year between $2,000 and $7,000 in overall pay. The other thing that we're doing is we are working with the operations department, transportation and operations, and we are putting together some job opportunities for our bus drivers that want to work this summer in terms of earning even additional supplemental pay. So that is explained and like a more detailed, thorough explanation in your board update.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the answer is yes. Okay, they will be making more money net, a couple $1,000s at least, with this new proposal.
So, Trustee Singh,
So
Trustee Singh,
the other, okay,
Trustee Singh.
point of order. The other question I had was, you know, it is hard to hear about the cuts. And so I guess a request for the board is for us to think about perhaps forming an ad hoc committee or something like that to look at forms of revenue, obviously not for this budget, which we're approving in 2 months, but going forward and really thinking about like our board vision for the social and financial benefit that we want to see of our unused properties, our real estate. And I know Matias Segura's office is working on this, but hearing all of this makes me think, are we really, maybe we have an opportunity to prioritize and maybe fast track some of this repurposing of our properties, and rather than just paying to maintain them, let's actually get them in use and maybe start generating some revenue and some social good out of all of that. So I would like to put that as an official request. And let's see. Oh, so there is a certain energy when we have in person. And I know that we're considering changing the board meeting time, and I would also like to add a request for us to consider allowing in-person public comment for our board information sessions as well, for the board to consider. Thank you.
I thought we are, because we haven't. Okay, got it. Okay, we will talk about that in our meeting and put that on the list. Got it. All right, thank you. Trustee Boswell.
Yeah, I'd like to add my voice to that idea of having, allowing people at in-person public comment for our information sessions. I know when we made the choice not to, when we were ordered by the governor to have in-person meetings, and we wanted to limit exposure, and I think we're at a place now where, especially as we're talking about changing that time, I would add my voice to hoping to do that as well and have that conversation. And then the second thing is, just want to add, I'm interested in hearing in the board update about the mariachi program, and understand that it hasn't been cut, but we've been hearing a lot of anecdotes, first ladies at LBJ, art classes other places, orchestra, other things. Kind of where are we having to lose programs as we adjust staffing to match the number of students? And if we can have more detail about that in our board update, that would be very welcomed. Thank you.
I'm trying to, thank you, Trustee Boswell. I'm sorry, since this is only the second meeting where we've had in person, I don't know why, I just assumed that we were already, the board information said, I think Dr. Salazar and I were just talking, I think we already did. I don't know if I know we can't vote on anything outside of the agenda, but I think folks can share their concerns, and I think we probably will move to that. in the near future, and we'll have a public notice announcement. I see Christine kind of pulling my, like, I'm going to stop now.
Yeah, policy currently provides that in information sessions, the general public comment will be recorded at the phone. So it's obviously something you
Thank you for the clarification on the need for a board policy change, and we will address that. Trustees, any other questions or clarifications? Well, thank you, trustees. As a reminder to our public, please feel free to share any general comments or questions on non-voting items with the board by email at trustees@austinisd.org. And again, I just want to, on behalf of the board, again, thank Ms. LaVon Marshall for being here with us today. Thank you. Thank you. We will now move to the consent agenda. Trustees, are there any consent items anyone would like to pull for a separate vote? If not, Secretary Singh, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Oh, wait, do I have to read? I have to read the
Yes.
numbers. Okay, wait, I'm all like, give me a second, please. Thank you. Okay, so I move that we approve items 10.1 and 10.2, 11.1 through 11.3, 12.1 to 12.4, 13.1, which is the naming process for new middle school Northeast Austin, 14.1, 15.1, and 15.2. That's it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion by Secretary Singh and a second by Trustee Foster to approve consent agenda items, and please check me on this, 10.1, 10.2, 11.1 to 11.3, 2.1 to
12.1.
12.1 to 12.4, 13.1, 14.1, 15.1, and 15.2.
Yep.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. We will now move to the items for separate vote. Trustee Singh, do we have a motion to approve item 16.1?
Yes, I move that we approve item 16.1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Trustees, is there any discussion on this item? Having a motion by Secretary Singh and a second by Trustee Ashe to approve item 16.1, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, all those abstaining. So the motion, thank you, the motion passes 7-4-0 opposed, and showing Trustee Foster abstaining on that vote.
Actually, it was 6-4, right? Because there's only 7 of us on the.
Yes, I'm sorry. Let me do that again. So the motion passes with 6-4, 0 against, and showing Trustee Foster abstaining.
Correct.
On the vote. Thank you. We will now recess the open meeting at 8:50 p.m. and move to executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074, 551.072, 551.073, 551.087, 551.076, and 551.071. For our viewers at home, this concludes our live broadcast. When we're finished with the executive session, we will briefly return to open session to formally adjourn the meeting. The adjournment will be recorded and be included in all replays of tonight's meeting. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.